Chapter 754. Rumor had it that after Zhong Zhenghao obtained the broken sword, he left the flourishing Heaven Pavilion's territory and was immediately attacked by the other martial sages. Zhong Zhenghao was too busy to deal with Shao Qin. However, Shao Qin would definitely come for the broken sword of the Thunderwood sword. His grudge with Zhong Zhenghao would not end here. I hope that you can escape this calamity and help me keep it safe for a while. Shao Qin smiled gently and gave Zhong Zhenghao his blessings. Then, he started to seriously read the myriad Heaven Divine Fist. An unknown storm brewed. The heroes everywhere were sharpening their weapons, no matter what it was for. Shao Qin was already involved. If he wanted to protect himself and obtain benefits, he needed to improve his strength further. The only way to increase his strength in a short time was the myriad Heaven Divine Fist in his hand. This time, when Shao Qin flipped through the golden pages, he let his mental energy pour in like a gushing river, not stopping it. As Shao Qin infused his mental energy, the pages gave off a bright, dazzling golden light. The pages flipped automatically. According to the distant legends, deities descended from the light. Majestic music played on the battlefield. This was an epic legend. As the people sang it, it was passed down through the ages. Without needing to memorize it, the various moves of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist imprinted themselves in Shao Qin's mind. The distant legends of the ancient deity race also presented a magnificent, boundless, and majestic picture before Shao Qin. The radiance of deities and some of the mysteries of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist complemented each other, complementing each other. When Shao Qin completely drained his mental energy, the page stopped in the middle. There were still 3 moves on the latter half of the page that he had not flipped through. The golden light in Shao Qin's eyes dimmed continuously. It flickered with a faint, majestic light, rampaging wildly within. Without needing to comprehend it at all, Shao Qin completely understood the mysteries of the first 4 moves of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist. Closing his eyes, Shao Qin started to absorb these mysteries. After a while, he opened his eyes. The light was no longer dimmed. However, his pitch-black eyes seemed even more filled with intelligence. As Shao Qin's gaze paused on the pages of the secret manual, he felt that it was a pity. If he had more mental energy, he would have been able to comprehend the last few moves of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist. He gently flipped through the pages with his fingers, but no light appeared. After reading through the entire content, he was still confused and had no idea what to do. The deity race's martial techniques are truly incredible. As long as one has sufficient mental energy, one can directly comprehend the mysteries within. Without spiritual power, even if I look at it, I won't have a clue. Shao Qin closed the secret manual again. Still not satisfied, he said, if only I could read the last 3 moves in one go. If an outsider heard this, they would probably go mad with anger. With the mental strength of an ordinary martial artist, they would be overjoyed to be able to see a complete move. This fellow had seen 4 moves in one go, yet he was still not satisfied. Even the peerless geniuses of the god race would be inferior to Shao Qin in this realm. Furthermore, Shao Qin was so dissatisfied. He was really not afraid of the wrath of the heavens and the people. The myriad Heaven Divine Fist had a total of 7 moves. Each move was incredibly strong. They were distant legend, radiance of deities, deities descending, chains of deities, eternal myth, dusk of deities, and the final move, burial of deities. Shao Qin did not have enough mental strength to see the last 3 moves. He could only plan for them in the future. After taking a deep breath, Shao Qin stretched his body and prepared to practice the first move of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist, distant legend. After taking a deep breath and recovering some of his mental strength, Shao Qin started to circulate the distant legend. The various mysteries of the Divine Fist appeared in Shao Qin's mind without much thought. Suddenly, a golden light lit up in Shao Qin's pitch-black eyes. A resonant poem resounded in the world. It sounded like countless believers were singing in praise, praising the legendary deities. The poem was holy and resonant, flowing continuously. When they merged together, it traversed the river of stars and time, reaching the other side. The golden light in Xiao Chen's eyes grew denser. His entire body was covered in light. His vital qi, veritable essence energy, and mental energy drained rapidly. Vaguely, Xiao Chen seemed to sense the deep gazes of the deities in the heavenly kingdom, far beyond the other side. That was a distant legend. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt it personally. The energy traversed the distance between time and space and the other side, pouring into his body. Xiao Chen soared into the air and punched. His fist whistled, and the sound it gave off overlapped with the holy song. Space trembled, and the golden light immediately burst out, filling the air and turning it into a golden canvas that lingered for a long time. Xiao Chen gently turned around and landed on the ground. When he saw the dense golden light in the air, joy appeared in his eyes. In that earlier punch, Xiao Chen's mental energy, vital qi, and veritable essence energy actually merged together, forming a new energy. If someone had stood in front of him earlier, the light from his fist would have been enough to turn that person into dust. Xiao Chen did not stop to rest. He continued practicing the second move of the myriad heaven divine fist. Distant legend, the deities of the other side, I pray in my heart, praying for the deities to send down their radiance to wash away the boundless darkness and sin of this world. On the other side of space and time, the many gazes that Xiao Chen sensed earlier all focused on him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Instantly, beams of golden light carrying vast and majestic energy traversed the boundless space and time, breaking through the void for thousands of kilometers, gathering on Xiao Chen's body. The golden light on Xiao Chen's body did not fade. His hair fluttered in the wind, scattering golden motes of light. The instant the light descended, Xiao Chen instantly attacked, punching the void again. Boom! Silently, the golden light flowed along Xiao Chen's fist and formed a huge and dazzling pillar of light. Then, it shot forward, opening a golden passageway. Everywhere the pillar of light passed, all obstacles turned to dust. This was the radiance of the deities. Deities descending. For the third move of the myriad heaven divine fist, a golden figure appeared high in the sky. It tore through the barrier of the sky and scattered the boundless clouds. Then, it landed on Xiao Chen's body with a whoosh. Instantly, Xiao Chen's aura soared. As his clothes fluttered, it seemed like everything bowed to him. As he walked, heaven and earth trembled. The energy in Xiao Chen's body soared for no reason. Deities descending seemed to have the same effect as the strength character art's 33-fold increase in combat prowess. Both could instantly multiply one's combat prowess. The difference was that the strength character art was more tyrannical, directly increasing one's combat prowess by 33-fold. Even if one's veritable essence energy could not bear it, it would not just increase it by 2 or 3 times. Once executed, it would increase one's combat prowess by 33-fold. If one's physical body was not strong enough, even if one killed the enemy, one would be exhausted, losing all combat prowess. This was also why Xiao Chen would not execute the strength character art unless he had no other choice. As for deities descending, although it was not as tyrannical and exaggerated as 33-fold combat prowess, it used the power of an ancient deity king, so the burden on one's body was not as great. Bang! Xiao Chen's aura soared continuously. His expression remained calm as he punched the ground ferociously. There was no earth-shattering sound. 100-meter-wide pit silently appeared in the ground. There was no dust filling the air. The force of one punch directly crushed all the dust into nothing. Xiao Chen withdrew his fist, and a divine light immediately shot out from his body, shooting into the sky like a meteor. Xiao Chen's aura plummeted, and the originally vast and boundless energy instantly scattered. The force of one punch can bring out about 10-fold combat prowess. It is far inferior to the strength character art. However, it is more useful to me now. Xiao Chen analyzed calmly as he looked at the deep pit in the ground. A ruthless look flashed in his eyes as he said, "With this punch, I can defeat Wu Yuankai, who only has 1/3 of his veritable essence energy left." The myriad Heaven Divine Fist did not exhaust much veritable essence energy. It relied on vital qi and mental energy. The mental energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness still had more than 1,000,000 kilograms of force. However, he had not developed it sufficiently. Not to mention mental energy, just vital qi alone could already exert 1,000,000 kilograms of force. However, Xiao Chen still used the superior grade Earth-ranked Dragon Claw Fist, which could no longer keep up with his progress. Today, the myriad Heaven Divine Fist utilized the two great treasures in Xiao Chen's body to their fullest potential. Retracting his gaze, Xiao Chen looked calmly to the front and circulated the fourth move of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist. As he circulated his mental energy and vital qi drained. 99 golden chains appeared out of nowhere behind Xiao Chen. Divine scripts flowed on the golden chains. As they spun, they looked like long dragons, carrying an overwhelming aura as they charged forward. They were like a vast army, vast and mighty. With a thought from Xiao Chen, the 99 golden chains vanished into thin air, leaving no trace behind. The greatest use of the divine chains was for sealing. Without a strong target, it would be hard to test out its might without actual combat. After executing the fourth move, Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to continue comprehending. After all, there were some mysteries that he knew in his heart. However, only by putting them into action could he truly understand them. After a long time, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. His pitch-black eyes were clear. He entered deep thought. The myriad Heaven Divine Fist should still be lacking something. However, he could not figure out what exactly it was. Based on Xiao Chen's understanding, the might of this fist technique should be far beyond this. In the future, when he advanced to martial sage, he might be able to see even further. Perhaps he might be able to touch the other side of the starry heavens, the distant legend of the deity race's heavenly nation that never faded. 5 days later, Nangong Qiong removed her extravagant attire and replaced it with plain clothes, concealing the noble aura in her bloodline. Then, she appeared before Xiao Chen. She sized up Xiao Chen and felt it was strange. After not seeing him for 5 days, Xiao Chen seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. However, his cultivation clearly had not improved much. Nangong Qiong thought of something, and a strange light flashed in her eyes. She asked, "Xiao Chen, how many moves of the myriad Heaven Divine Fist that you obtained from the auction?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Naturally, he would not tell Nangong Qiong the truth. This girl's origins were mysterious, and she was very strong. He could not figure her out. Furthermore, she was very cunning. She was not as simple as she looked on the surface. When traveling with this girl, he needed to be more careful. "Let's not talk about this. Since you came to look for me, you should be setting off, right?" Nangong Qiong was rather tactful. Since Xiao Chen was not willing to say, she did not pursue the matter. She only made a mental note of it. Then, she smiled and said, "That's right. With our speed, we should be able to reach the Eternal Heavenly Sword School in 5 days. Chapter 755. Xiao Chen tidied himself up and asked casually, "Aren't you afraid that Emo Lingtian will recognize you if you go to the Eternal Heavenly Sword School like this?" Nangong Qiong smiled and said, "Naturally, I am not afraid. I have only been in Hunluo City for a month or so. Don't worry." Indeed, it was as Xiao Chen had guessed. This woman should be a high-ranking member of the Flourishing Heaven Pavilion's headquarters, and not an insignificant supremacy of the local Flourishing Heaven Pavilion. Not long after stepping out of the courtyard, Xiao Chen sensed that someone was watching him. Nangong Qiong also frowned slightly and said, "You really have a lot of troubles. Should we deal with them first?" Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he guessed who it was. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he said, There is no need to care. He is waiting for me to leave the city, and I am also waiting for him. After leaving the city and traveling 50 kilometers, Xiao Chen's pupils constricted on a remote path. As expected, he saw Wu Yuankai with a ferocious expression and surging killing qi. Wu Yuankai wore a pair of dark gold gloves. As he looked at Xiao Chen, his face twitched. He smiled sinisterly and said, "You are really bold. You left the city in less than 10 days. Do you really think that I was just joking? Why is this fellow so daring? Can't he see that I'm standing together with Nangong Qiong?" Xiao Chen thought, finding it strange. However, Xiao Chen discovered that Nangong Qiong was smiling faintly. At some point in time, she had already moved a kilometer away. Her arms were crossed over her chest, as if this matter did not concern her. "This woman, today I have nothing to fear. Let's see what else you can do. Die." Before Xiao Chen could think, Wu Yuankai had already charged over with a flourishing aura. His fists swept out wildly, and many sinister underworld rivers surged over. Xiao Chen's eyes flickered. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and dodged the attack. Wu Yuankai had been suppressing his anger for so many days, and this was the time when his aura was at its peak. He would let him vent his anger first. Bang, bang, bang. The nether rivers covered in black energy danced in the air like raging dragons. The cries of vengeful spirits echoed endlessly, as if a terrifying purgatory had descended upon the mortal realm. Wu Yuankai's black hair was scattered, and his expression was ferocious. He glared at Xiao Chen, who was dodging all over the place, and chased after him. His fist, which was wrapped in a pair of dark gold gloves, shot out a power that caused the air to tremble, rumbling non-stop. "White-robed brat, weren't you very powerful that day? Why are you so timid now?" Rage burned in Wu Yuankai's heart. He looked at Xiao Chen, who was avoiding the fight, and shouted arrogantly and delightedly. As his white robes fluttered, Xiao Chen smiled faintly and ignored him. He held the sheathed lunar shadow saber in his left hand and casually swung it, scattering the fist wind. As the nether river filled the sky, Xiao Chen rode on the blue dragon image, moving back and forth like the wind. Under Wu Yuankai's wild attacks, huge pits appeared on the ground. Dirt flew everywhere, filling the air with dust and covering the sun. "Bastard! If you have the guts, then don't run!" Relying on the blue dragon cloud's soaring art, Xiao Chen flew up and down. Wu Yuankai did his best, sending out all sorts of horrifying attacks. However, they always brushed past Xiao Chen's shoulders. At first, Wu Yuankai's delighted shout turned into a roar of rage and dissatisfaction. Xiao Chen's heart turned cold. He had already made up his mind to make this person stay, not leaving behind any future problems. Naturally, he would not care about the other party's verbal attack. It's about time. After another 100 moves, Wu Yuankai's aura ran out. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and placed his right hand on the saber hilt. The aura that he had been suppressing for a long time burst out. "Hidden dragon in the abyss, soaring dragon in the sky. If I do not make a move, then I will let you shout as you please. However, if I make a move, it will definitely be earth-shattering, incomparably sharp." Xiao Chen stomped on the air with his right foot, and the surging black nether river immediately scattered, turning into black rain falling down. Before Wu Yuankai could react, Xiao Chen turned into a true dragon and soared into the air. Then, he drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. Boom! 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 Loud sounds rang out endlessly. The black nether river dancing chaotically in the air scattered like dry weeds before Xiao Chen's soaring saber light. Wu Yuankai's expression turned startled. He had not expected Xiao Chen, who had been suppressing himself for so long, to unleash such a startling might after making his move. Without much time to think, Wu Yuankai moved his fists and materialized the 9 layers of purgatory painting at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, he quickly retreated. Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. "My aura flourishes. The momentum of a true dragon soaring is completely formed. How can the 9 layers of purgatory that you materialized in a hurry block it? In merely the blink of an eye, Shao Chen scattered the newly formed 9 layers of purgatory. The dragon soared into the sky, its momentum not decreasing. Wu Yuankai cursed. He had no choice but to receive this move head-on. Bang! His protective quintessence nearly shattered. Blood leaked out of a corner of Wu Yuankai's lips as he retreated 100 steps. He glared hatefully at Shao Chen and immediately launched a counterattack. However, even though Wu Yuankai was fast, Shao Chen was even faster. Since Shao Chen had already caused his opponent's momentum to plummet, how could he give him a chance to turn things around? Ghostly image chop. The saber light split apart and Shao Chen sent out 72 saber lights, forming a sea of lightning that knocked Wu Yuankai back again. Following that, there was another unpredictable saber chi. Wu Yuankai had experienced this before, so he dodged in advance, narrowly dodging the saber chi. The saber chi brushed past him. Blue dragon goes to sea. Blue dragon goes to sea. Blue dragon goes to sea. After his first attack failed, Shao Chen immediately turned around and executed the first move of the dragon's subduing slash, not caring about the quintessence consumption. A blue dragon broke out of the vast sea mysterious phenomenon. Its ferocious roar resounded throughout the world. The 300-meter dragon-shaped saber chi carried a vast dragon might as it hacked at Wu Yuankai. Wu Yuankai moved back 6 times in a row, repeatedly retreating. He could no longer hold back a mouthful of blood, vomiting it. Then, he said in a crazed manner, "Ha ha ha! Come on! Continue! Continue! This old man wants to see how many resources you can squander." Shao Chen remained silent. He swung his saber 4 more times, sending out a total of 10 blue dragon goes to sea before he stopped. Wu Yuankai, who had been knocked back in the air, was now in a sorry state. His long hair was disheveled, and his complexion was pale. Blood continuously leaked out of a corner of his lip. In reality, even if the 7 giants used 10 heaven-ranked martial techniques consecutively, they would not fare much better than Wu Yuankai. Nangong Qiong, who had already retreated 3 kilometers away, revealed a shocked expression. She said, "Is this fellow crazy? No matter how much quintessence he has, he should not use it like this." Wu Yuankai, who was in a sorry state, looked at Shao Chen, who had sheathed his saber. Then, he reared his head back and laughed maniacally. He said, "Who asked you to be so arrogant? Die." 9 underworld rivers descended from the sky behind Wu Yuankai. His quintessence surged as he charged over with an overwhelming baleful aura. Myriad heaven divine fist, distant legend. Shao Chen casually tossed the lunar shadow saber to the ground. Suddenly, a golden light lit up in Shao Chen's eyes. Suddenly, countless resonant sagely songs resounded in the air. A vast divine aura radiated from Shao Chen's body, which gave off a golden glow. Shao Chen, who had exhausted most of his quintessence, charged over fearlessly at the frenzied Wu Yuankai. As Shao Chen moved, the sagely songs surrounded him. The gazes of the deities on the other side of the starry heavens opened their eyes and focused on him. Bang! Shao Chen punched and his fist merged with the sagely songs. A boundless golden light poured out. In that instant, the 9 sinister underworld rivers, which covered the sky, were illuminated by the light, leaving nowhere to run. Chi. The black underworld rivers were purified into strands of black chi that scattered into the air. Wu Yuankai bore the brunt of the attack. When the light landed on him, it was like a flame burning him up, causing him to cry out in pain. Radiance of deities. Shao Chen's expression did not change. His black hair gave off a golden light as it fluttered wildly in the air. The gazes of the deities crossed the distance between the starry heavens and the other side and focused on him. Shao Chen's fist burst forth with a bright light, looking like a small golden sun, dazzling and dazzling. Wu Yuankai had just gotten rid of the golden light on his body. When he saw this piercing golden light, he was so frightened that he paled. Didn't this fellow exhaust his quintessence? How can he still be so powerful? The golden pillar of light turned into a fist wind as it flew forward. Everywhere it passed, the dust scattered, but the light did not fade. Wu Yuankai did not dare to be careless. He unleashed all the heavenly sage laws that he had comprehended, quickly materializing a complete underworld river with 9 coils around him. At this moment, Wu Yuankai brought out the might of the blood shadow underworld river fist to its limits. When it clashed with the blazing pillar of light, it gave off a horrifying sound. Shock waves surged out in the air. Nangong Qiong, who was 3 kilometers away, changed her expression slightly. She quickly retreated, and the golden shock waves brushed past her face. If she had retreated any later, she would have been caught up in the shock waves. When she felt the hot wind on her face, her expression turned extremely grave. In a mere 5 days, he learned 2 moves of the myriad heaven divine fist. This fellow is truly unfathomable. However, what shocked Nangong Qiong even more was that when Wu Yuankai faced Shao Chen, who executed the light of deities, he felt like leaving. After clashing head-on several times, Wu Yuankai was severely injured. Originally, he thought that after Shao Chen exhausted his quintessence, he could do whatever he wanted to him. However, he did not know where Shao Chen learned such a horrifying fist technique. As Shao Chen watched Wu Yuankai flee in a sorry state, his lips curled up. He said in a low voice, "It is already too late to think of running now." Deities descending. The golden image of a deity sovereign tore through the barrier of the sky for tens of thousands of kilometers. It was like a divine light entering Shao Chen's body. Instantly, Shao Chen's aura soared. He gave off a bright light, and everything in the world prostrated themselves in worship. Even Nangong Qiong's mental state changed somewhat. The image of Shao Chen in her eyes was like a deity, deterring all thoughts of resistance. Bang! Shao Chen pushed off the air, and the entire space shook. Cracks spread out in a spiderweb pattern on the ground, forming bottomless ravines. Like a meteor chasing the moon, Shao Chen caught up to the fleeing Wu Yuankai in an instant. Berserk energy burst out from his fist. Wu Yuankai could not resist at all. With one punch, his body exploded into a shower of blood, filling the air. The divine light in Shao Chen's body faded away. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Wu Yuankai's spatial ring and the pair of valuable dark gold gloves into his universe ring. With a casual wave, the lunar shadow saber stabbed into the ground returned to Shao Chen's hand. Then, he gently landed before Nangong Qiong. Pa, pa, pa. A cheerful smile appeared on Nangong Qiong's face. She clapped her jade-like hands and said, "Young Master Shao is very skilled. No wonder you dared to challenge by Wuxue." After watching the show for so long, Shao Chen only said this. He could not feel happy about having this woman as his companion. Chapter 756. After the two of them left, they did not know that in the clouds 3,000 meters in the sky, a pair of pearl-like eyes had seen everything that had just happened. Whoosh! In the clouds, little heavenly monkey, the genius of the fiend domain's giant ape race, gently landed on the ground. Looking at the cobweb-like ravines on the ground, Feng's frivolous face revealed a grave expression under his messy hair. This fellow's myriad heaven divine fist is actually much stronger than several of the young deity race experts. There is also that girl. If I am not wrong, she should be a descendant of a hidden sovereign clan. Feng raised his head and watched the two leave. His lips curled up slightly as he said, "However, this is good as well." Snatching the great rock spreading wings painting piece from the trash of the 6 great sects is simply too boring. However, he would have to postpone his promise to his first uncle. Feng pushed off the ground and instantly moved 1 kilometer forward. There was no wind or waves, no sound at all as he vanished from where he was. 5 days later, Xiao Chen and Nangong Qiong arrived at the gate at the foot of the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. It was a continuous mountain range that towered into the clouds. Spiritual mist spread throughout the mountain range, giving off a refreshing smell. When one opened their mouth and inhaled, they would feel refreshed. When one looked up, there was an indistinct spiritual light between the mountain peaks, forming rings of different colors in the sky. The rings of light were hidden in the clouds, appearing and disappearing, adding to the mystery. Xiao Chen looked around and said, "I did not expect this Eternal Heavenly Sword School to have more than 10 rank 4 spirit veins in the main peak." Rank 4 spirit veins were also known as peak spirit veins. They could produce superior grade spirit stones. 10 rank 4 spirit veins could produce a large number of rank 4 spirit stones in a year. Nangong Qiong's lips curled up as she said, "Your horizons are really extraordinary. Of these 10 peak spirit veins, none of them are of high quality. Only the main peak has a high-quality peak spirit vein. Such a huge rank 8 sect does not even have a holy spirit vein. The Eternal Heavenly Sword School is only SOSO. At the foot of the mountain was a vast drill ground. More than 1,000 Eternal Heavenly Sword School inner sect disciples were practicing the lightning light fleeing shadows sword technique. Sparks of lightning leaped on the swords. As the sword lights danced, they guided the thunderclouds materialized by the state of thunder above their heads. More than 1,000 disciples executed the same sword technique, and it was the same concept. Every single move could easily cause wind and thunder and lightning to rumble. The scene looked extremely grand, giving off a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, if a martial sage wanted to barge in forcefully, he would definitely be beaten back miserably. Nangong Qiong looked at the thousands of inner sect disciples on the drill ground with mighty auras. She smiled meaningfully and said, "What a great thunderlight fleeing shadows sword. Unfortunately, the only thing worth praising in this Eternal Heavenly Sword School is not your own." As Xiao Chen looked at this girl, a strange light flashed in his eyes. This Nangong Qiong seemed to have a great background. Unexpectedly, she knew that the Thunder King created this thunder light fleeing shadows sword. Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, looked at the huge statue of the Eternal Heavenly Sword Sage on the drill ground. She was stunned. She had not expected the Eternal Heavenly Sword Sage to be this person. "Little Ao Jiao, do you recognize who that Eternal Heavenly Sword Sage is?" Ao Jiao's voice turned somewhat cold as she replied, "This person came to the Kunlun realm together with the Thunder King. Sang Mu took good care of him and had a deep friendship with him. How could he claim all the martial techniques that the Thunder King created for himself? Mo Lingtian is here. You know what to say later, right?" Nangong Qiong suddenly said. Xiao Chen stood outside the mountain gates and looked in. Mo Lingtian led a group of people through the drill ground, heading towards the two of them in a grandiose manner. Mo Lingtian must have made arrangements long ago, sending people to guard Xiao Chen at the foot of the mountain. Hence, before the two of them entered the mountain gates, Mo Lingtian came out. After leaving the mountain gates, Mo Lingtian led the group of people over to Xiao Chen. His handsome face did not reveal any expression as he said casually, "You are here." As Mo Lingtian spoke, he gave off an aloof attitude. It was as though he was giving Xiao Chen a lot of face by letting him come. Xiao Chen did not care about this. He nodded casually and sized up the 5 old men behind the old man without anyone noticing. The 5 old men all had deep auras. They were half-sages. Furthermore, they were half-sages who comprehended heavenly sage laws, only slightly weaker than Wu Yuankai. "Who is she? I don't think I asked you to bring anyone else." When Mo Lingtian saw Nangong Qiong behind Xiao Chen, his expression changed, and he spoke in an extremely displeased tone. Xiao Chen and Nangong Qiong had already arranged what to say. He smiled faintly and said, "This is a friend who came with me from the Sky Dome realm. Her strength is equal to mine. With her accompanying me, I will definitely be able to help you better. Mo Lingtian snorted coldly and sized up Nangong Cheong with a playful gaze. He said coldly, Xiao Chen, you overestimate yourself. Is someone who is equal to you considered an expert? What do you think I am going to do? I can bring anyone. Bringing you is already breaking the rules. To think that you dare to take the liberty of bringing someone else. Xiao Chen even felt like dying. Not only did Mo Lingtian call him to be a free fighter, but he even showed such an annoying expression. This Mo Lingtian was truly the best of the best. Just as Xiao Chen was about to lose control, Nangong Cheong stepped forward and smiled faintly, releasing some of her aura. Mo Lingtian's expression immediately changed. He said, a half-sage. I nearly misjudged you. If you can block a palm strike from me, I can bring you along. After Mo Lingtian spoke, he stretched out his right palm. Electricity leaped around his palm, carrying the might of thunder as he sent it towards Nangong Cheong. Mo Lingtian attacked in the time it took for a spark to fly, without any warning. However, Nangong Cheong did not panic at all. She calmly sent out a palm strike. Bang! The two palms clashed, and a strong wind immediately surged out, fluttering the clothes of the surrounding people. The dust on the ground also kicked up in that instant. Amidst the dust, Mo Lingtian staggered and stepped back. He almost lost his balance and fell down. At the crucial moment, Xiao Chen noticed the image of a pagoda appear around Mo Lingtian. Then, Mo Lingtian withdrew his hand and returned it to his dantian. The instant the pagoda appeared, Mo Lingtian immediately stabilized his retreat. When the dust settled, he appeared calm and unruffled, retreating very elegantly. Shock flashed in Mo Lingtian's eyes. He waved his hand and said, not bad. You can block a palm strike that I used 50% of my strength with your full strength. You are qualified to come with me. Lingtian, this woman's origins are unknown. Should we reconsider? One of the old men behind Mo Lingtian sent a voice projection with a suspicious gaze. It's fine. A full power strike is only SOSO. I already refined the sage-grade pagoda. It will be easy for me to crush these two. Mo Lingtian appeared extremely confident. He continued to send a voice projection, after this matter is over, kill Xiao Chen and leave this woman alive. She is still of some use. The 5 old men thought about it and felt that it was not a big problem. Even without Mo Lingtian, if the 5 of them worked together, these 2 would not be able to cause any trouble. Xiao Chen asked secretly, Nangong Cheong, how much of your strength did you use earlier? Nangong Cheong smiled craftily and replied with a voice projection, about 30 to 40%. Xiao Chen wondered what Mo Lingtian would think if he heard Nangong Cheong's words. The full power strike that he thought was only 30 to 40% of Nangong Cheong's strength. At the same time, a similar scene played out at the foot of the mountains of the 6th rank 8 sects of Hunluo province. The top true inheritors of the various sects led several half-sage elders down the mountains in high spirit. In an inn near the flourishing Heaven Pavilion in Hunluo City, Xian Yu, Bai, and the others gathered to discuss the same matter. Aside from the 4 people that Xiao Chen saw back then, there was also a middle-aged man with a deep cultivation and a grave and stern expression. Xian Yu said respectfully to this person, second uncle, the Heavenly Rock Race's people should have made their move already, right? The middle-aged man nodded and said, yes. This time, for the sake of opening the Star Grave Palace, the Heavenly Rock Race put in a lot of effort. All the remaining experts of the race are mobilized. Jiang Zimo said sullenly, in the history of the Fiend domain since the ancient era, the Heavenly Rock King is one of the top 10 sovereign Fiend emperors. His grave palace will definitely be filled with danger. If we are not careful, we will fall. The middle-aged man said, the grave palace itself is not dangerous. The cultivators that will come after hearing the news are the greatest problem. However, for the sake of the great rock spreading wings painting and the other treasures that might be in the grave palace, This risk is worth it. After the group discussed for a while, they all went their separate ways and made their final preparations. Only the middle-aged man and Xian Yu remained in the room. The middle-aged man glanced at Xian Yu and smiled. Unexpectedly, you managed to pull Bai out this time. I heard that the Fox King has taken a fancy to Bai and intends to adopt her as his daughter. If you manage to obtain this girl, it will be equivalent to establishing a relationship with the Fox King. Your future will be limitless. Our Xian clan's position in the spirit fox race will be even more stable. Xian Yu smiled, feeling very pleased. She is just a little girl. It will be easy for me to capture her. She comprehended the sword heart and even cultivates a mysterious cultivation technique. Her appearance and aura are even better than the young Wang Fei's. If I can obtain her, not only will the Fox King look at me in a new light, but there will also be countless benefits. It might even be possible for me to become the future Fox King. At the foot of the mountain, Xiao Chen finally learned from Mo Lingtian what this trip was about. The Heavenly Rock King was a sovereign fiend emperor of the fiend domain's Heavenly Rock race. Before he died, he infused his comprehensions of cultivation into a great rock spreading wings painting. When the Heavenly Rock King was alive, he found a star in the boundless starry river and refined it into a palace. After he died, it became his grave palace. The great rock spreading wings painting was in this grave palace. However, when the great rock spreading wings painting was formed, the experts of the Heavenly Rock race actually started killing each other over the painting. However, after thinking about it, it was understandable. If one could obtain the lifetime comprehensions of a sovereign martial emperor, it would be of heaven-defying help to one's cultivation and future cultivation. During the fight, the great rock spreading wings painting was broken into several pieces. The moment the painting scroll crumbled, the moment the painting shattered, the horrifying energy that exploded out instantly blasted the peak martial sages of the Heavenly Rock race fighting for the painting into powder. Chapter 757. At that moment, the Star Grave Palace completely closed. According to the Heavenly Rock King's plan, no one above martial sage could enter. The Heavenly Rock King broke through the barrier of the sky and flew into the depths of the boundless starry heavens. Due to the Heavenly Rock King's death, the strong Heavenly Rock race's strength had decreased significantly. Furthermore, the peak cultivators of the race had all died in the fight for the painting. The golden age that the Heavenly Rock King created for the Heavenly Rock race was gone forever. The Heavenly Rock race's strength declined sharply. After a few thousand years, the Heavenly Rock race became the weakest of the 100 races of the Fiend domain. Every 100 years, the Star Grave Palace would pass above the Heavenly Rock race. The Heavenly Rock race had never given up on summoning the Star Grave Palace, praying that it could summon the Heavenly Rock race back to its former glory. There was confirmed news that after several generations of attempts by the Heavenly Rock race, the Heavenly Rock race was really going to summon the Star Grave Palace. As time passed, the once mighty Heavenly Rock race left the bustling areas of the Fiend domain long ago. They moved to the borders of the Fiend domain, to the Sand region 4,000 kilometers away from Hunluo province. The Sand region was a vast desert, desolate and devoid of life. All sorts of ferocious beasts roamed about. There were only a few small oases. For the Heavenly Rock race to end up in such a state, it was easy to imagine how weak it was. If ordinary people could not travel 4,000 kilometers, they would have to travel for a long time. However, to Mo Lingtian's group, it was not particularly far. In fact, it could be said to be very close. Flying skillfully allowed them to travel thousands of kilometers in a day. 8 days later, a seemingly endless golden desert appeared before the eyes of the 8. Mo Lingtian looked at the surging yellow sand and glanced at Xiao Chen behind him. His lips curled up as he said, "There are all sorts of ferocious beasts hiding under this desert. Flame sand snakes, muddy earth lizards, demonic spotted leopards, bone dragons, and many more. There are also the most troublesome gold corroding worms." Xiao Chun, your physical body is the strongest. You will lead the way. Send us to the heavenly rock race's summoning altar. I will point you in the right direction. Xiao Chun smiled coldly in his heart. This fellow is really impolite. Let me just treat it as tempering my physical body. I will settle the score with him later. Looking at Xiao Chun, who, obediently, came forward, the corners of Emolingtian's mouth curled up, revealing a proud smile. What white-robed bladesman! He is like a dog in my hand. Does he really think that he can obtain any benefits? He Ling Tian, you're really something. What white-robed bladesman! To think that he dares to challenge Bai Wuxue. Before young master, he does not even dare to fart. When the 5 elders behind Mo Lingtian saw this, they immediately started to flatter Mo Lingtian. What do the 7 giants count for? I Tianzhong am outstanding. In the future, when I control the Eternal Heavenly Sword School, I will definitely become the Eternal Heavenly Emperor and shake the Kunlun realm with my might. Elders, let's go. The few of them sent voice transmissions to each other. Although they did not say it out loud, Nangong Qiong heard everything clearly. When she heard Emolingtian's final words, she nearly burst out laughing. Wu Yuankai, one of the insufferably arrogant 10 great evildoers of Hunluo City, could only be beaten up by Xiao Chun. It was unknown where Mo Lingtian got his confidence to look down on Xiao Chun like this. Bang bang bang! The blazing sun hung overhead, and yellow sand covered the ground. Occasionally, ferocious beasts leaped out of the sand. Xiao Chun did not hesitate. He executed the dragon claw fist and killed these ferocious beasts one by one. As Xiao Chun walked, he moved like a dragon or a tiger. As his fists and claws moved, dragons roared endlessly. Unless it was a ferocious beast above rank 9, most ferocious beasts would find it hard to survive more than 10 moves from Xiao Chun. As Xiao Chun practiced his punches and kicks on the scalding sand, he gained a lot. In the past, Xiao Chun had always cultivated on flat ground. The more complicated ones were grasslands and forests. He had never practiced in a harsh environment like the desert before. The blazing sun of the Kunlun realm was several times larger than that of the Sky Dome realm. This was the first time Xiao Chun experienced its might. Without clouds to block the blazing sun, Xiao Chun's clothes were completely soaked in sweat in less than 2 hours. He looked like he had just been fished out of a river. Xiao Chun's body suffered a torment for no apparent reason. If he were an ordinary person, he would definitely stop and rest properly, using his quintessence to block the sun and let himself feel better. However, Xiao Chun felt an incomparable carefree feeling. Under the blazing sun, he circulated his vital qi at full power. The integration of his muscles, bones, and blood seemed to have improved by another level. It felt like he could break through the shackles of a rank 1 sage body at any moment. Xiao Chun rejoiced in his heart. He could not help but put in even more effort to kill the ferocious beasts blocking his way. Mo Lingtian looked at the sweating, murderous Xiao Chun a kilometer away. He mocked, indeed, a country bumpkin from the Sky Dome realm. The sun of the Kunlun realm is the strongest yang-attributed flame in the 3,000 great realms. Without clouds to block the sun, an ordinary person would die after being exposed to the sun for 2 hours. Given our cultivation, even if we were exposed to the sun without caring about the exhaustion, we would still end up with fire poison. If not for that, why would this young master care about a few bugs blocking the way? The 5 Eternal Heavenly Sword School Inner Sect elders also had mocking expressions on their faces as they echoed the elders' words. Nangong Qiong was very experienced. Naturally, she knew that Xiao Chun was not stupid. It was impossible for him not to feel the might of the Kunlun realm's sun. There had to be a reason for him to kill the ferocious beasts blocking the way so desperately. Indeed, after observing for a long time, Nangong Qiong finally discovered the secret behind it. She could not help feeling startled. This fellow actually used the Kunlun realm's sun to temper his body. Furthermore, it seemed to be very effective. It was laughable that Mo Lingtian and the others mocked Xiao Chen as a country bumpkin, truly ignorant. With Xiao Chen leading the charge, Mo Lingtian and the others had it easy. They only needed to deal with the occasional fish that slipped through the net. 3 days later, the bones in Xiao Chen's body gave off crackling sounds. Suddenly, he felt very relaxed. It was like he had just put down a heavy burden. My rank 1 sage body has advanced to rank 2. Xiao Chen casually punched and exploded a flame sand snake that leaped out. Then, he revealed an expression of joy as he squinted at the blazing sun in the sky. Xiao Chen broke through the bottleneck of his rank 1 sage body. This was a pleasant surprise. Mo Lingtian, who was a kilometer away, did not notice the changes in Xiao Chen. As he fought with the ferocious beasts, all sorts of sounds rang out. These sounds were much more intense than the crackling of Xiao Chen's bones. Furthermore, Mo Lingtian did not care about Xiao Chen at all. He felt that Xiao Chen was only a superior-grade martial monarch. No matter how strong he was, he could not be that strong. After 1 hour, Xiao Chen stopped advancing. The figures of the heavenly rock race cultivators finally appeared at the limits of his vision. Mo Lingtian met up with Xiao Chen. As he looked at the 2 heavenly rock race cultivators patrolling in front, he smiled sinisterly and said, "We have arrived. After holding it in for so long, it is time to vent." A purple crystal sword about 2 fingers wide appeared from Mo Lingtian's sleeve. He grasped the sword hilt and suddenly, a boundless lightning-attributed spiritual energy gathered under his feet. Boom! An electric light exploded under Mo Lingtian's feet. His body turned into a bolt of purple lightning and soared into the sky. He was so fast that the naked eye could not catch him. When the lightning disappeared into the horizon, Mo Lingtian's figure landed beside the 2 heavenly rock race cultivators. Electric light leaped around the purple crystal sword, and a sword light flickered. 2 heads flew off with a schwa sound. The 2 heavenly rock race cultivators did not even have a chance to cry out before they were killed. The 5 old men quickly flew over and smiled. Young Master's thunder steps are indeed superb. In an instant you cross 2 kilometers. Xiao Chen recalled the process of Mo Lingtian executing thunder steps in his mind. After a while, he felt like he had gained something. He felt that this movement technique had many redeeming qualities. Xiao Chen stood beside Mo Lingtian. 5 kilometers below the sand dune, the heavenly rock race's army had already split into a few groups, guarding the surroundings. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense passed through the groups and reached the core, which he could not see with his eyes. Then, he saw a vast and complicated formation. 49 dazzling clumps of light leaped around the nodes of the complicated formation. The overwhelming spiritual energy formed pillars of light soaring into the sky. What a fellow! No wonder he dared to say that he would succeed. He actually gathered 49 peak spirit veins and moved all the spirit veins' origins over. For the sake of this summoning of the Grave Palace, the heavenly rock race probably spent all the savings of the race on it. If they did not succeed, they would die trying. In the center of the formation was an altar filled with an ancient aura. A young man wearing golden armor stood in the middle of the altar. He exuded a sharp aura and a heroic aura. This young man glanced at the surrounding sand dunes. There were people hiding behind them with malicious intentions. His lips curled up in a sinister smile, showing that he did not care. Seeing the other party's expression, Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. A strange thought popped up in his mind. Could the heavenly rock race have purposely leaked the news this time? Mo Lingtian looked around and sized up the place. Then, he smiled faintly and said, "There are really many familiar faces here to join in the excitement. The Bone Mausoleum Halls Wang Ying, the Soaring Serpent Mansions Zhuo Guangyuan, the Blood Shadow Sects Ting Peng, the Heavenly Tiger Sects Yun Feiyang, and the Magnificent Fiend Halls Xiang Fei. There are also several fiend domain geniuses who came from afar. Unfortunately, they will return disappointed." As Mo Lingtian spoke, He seemed to be very proud of himself. Xiao Chen and Nangong Qiong directly ignored Mo Lingtian's words. They sent voice projections to each other, discussing how to find an opportunity to deal with these eternal Heavenly Sword School half-sages after they entered. As night fell, the 49 pillars of light in the formation became even brighter in the dark night. Everyone looked into the sky and saw a resplendent star that was clearly different from the others. It slowly moved across the sky, getting closer to the altar. At this moment, everyone held their breath. Their eyes blazed as they quietly waited for the star to fall. The star that belonged to the Heavenly Rock King was at its most resplendent in the dark night. At this moment, the Heavenly Rock King's star was at its most resplendent and dazzling. As it moved 5,000 kilometers in an instant, it looked incredibly slow in the eyes of the people below. A hopeful light appeared in Bai's bright eyes, revealing an incredibly determined expression. Bai Chen muttered to herself, "This is the Star-Grave Palace. If I can obtain the Great Rock Spreading Wings painting, I will not have to look at elder brother Xiao Chen's back anymore." Back then, during the Five-Nation Youth Competition, Xiao Chen defeated all the outstanding talents and was once the king-grade True Dragon. While Bai felt incredibly happy for Xiao Chen, she also felt a trace of loneliness as she looked at Xiao Chen walking in front. She had been cultivating in the Heavenly Fiend Palace for a long time, but the distance between her and Xiao Chen had widened. At that time, Bai Chen swore to herself that she would catch up to her elder brother Xiao Chen. Then, Bai would be able to fight shoulder to shoulder with him and not just look at Xiao Chen's back anymore. Chapter 758. I can definitely do it. Bai Chen clenched her fair hands tightly. She had suffered a lot in the past 2 years. She would definitely be able to make her elder brother Xiao Chen look at her in a different light. Xian Yu stretched out his hand to place it on Bai's shoulder. He revealed a smile and said, "Later, when the Grave Palace falls, Bai, just follow behind me." Bai smiled faintly and dodged Xian Yu's hand. She said, "Thank you, elder brother Xian Yu. At that time, elder brother Xian Yu had better protect yourself. Bai will not let you worry about me." Xian Yu pulled back his hand that missed. An indiscernible rage flashed on his handsome face. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "Very well. However, if you need help, just let me know immediately." The dazzling star, the Heavenly Rock King who had fallen long ago. However, the Grave Palace still allowed him to shine. Even after thousands of years, it could still attract the attention of many outstanding talent. All this was because he was a sovereign martial emperor, the king of emperors. Nangong Qiong looked around and frowned slightly. Then, she sent a voice projection to Xiao Chen. "This time, even if you and I work together, we might not be able to suppress everyone. Aside from the trash of the 6 great factions, unexpectedly, there are other people." Seeing Xiao Chen's doubts, Nangong Qiong placed her hand on Xiao Chen's shoulder. A strange energy spread out, and a scene in the distance appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. It was as if he could touch it. "This is," Nangong Qiong smiled and said, "Heaven and Earth audiovisual art." The scene changed and fixed on a beautiful youth in white. Nangong Qiong said, "This is a genius cultivator of the Silver Moon Spirit Fox race. He is not much weaker than the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain. He is not someone that Mo Lingtian can compare to. The girl beside him is a peak genius of the Silver Moon Spirit Fox race that rose to fame in the past year. She possesses a supreme cultivation technique of the Fiend race from the Immortal epoch. Her appearance and talent are 1 in 10,000. She even caught the eye of the Fox King. She is known as one of the 3 great beauties of the Fiend domain. Some of the Spirit Fiend descendants are interested in her." Xiao Chen couldn't help but smile in his heart. He didn't expect that after not seeing her for 2 years, the innocent little girl from back then already had such a reputation. The scene before Xiao Chen changed. A sloppy-looking young man with messy hair and a pair of gem-like eyes appeared in the clouds. Don't be fooled by this person's appearance. He is a genuine monstrous genius from the giant ape race. He is extremely famous in the fiend realm and is known as the Little Heavenly Monkey. Many spirit fiend descendants are inferior to him. Aside from this, Nangong Cheong had overlooked several young fiend race cultivators. They were probably not worthy of her attention, but in reality, none of these people were weaker than the direct disciples of the 6 major sections. Finally, the scene stopped on a sand dune in the distance. On the sand dune stood a young swordsman dressed in black. He had a cold expression and stood as straight as a javelin. The swordsman stood quietly on the sand dune, as if he had merged with the night. If one did not pay attention, they would not be able to discover his existence. However, once one discovered him, he would be like a powerful treasure sword, deeply imprinted in one's mind. No matter what, one would not be able to forget him. That swordsman's pitch-black eyes were like black gemstones, even darker than the night, even more lonely and desolate. This is our greatest enemy on this trip. This person is called Yen Shursan. Aside from the people of the 7 giants, no one in the younger generation of your Tianwu domain knows him. Yen was an extremely ancient family name. At the start of the martial epoch, when the human race prospered, the Yen clan was already a sovereign noble clan. By the time the ancient era ended, the Yen clan had already existed for more than 50,000 years. Nangong Cheong continued. He is the scion of a sovereign noble clan, the Yen clan. I really can't figure out why he is not cultivating in the profound domain but here. He mainly cultivates the sword Dao and already has 1 foot in the threshold of martial sage. The great rock spreading wings painting is not very useful to him. The flourishing heaven pavilion was spread throughout the Kunlun realm. Aside from auctions, they also dealt in intelligence. Xiao Chen did not find it strange that Nangong Cheong knew so much. Xiao Chen looked at the golden-armored youth of the heavenly rock race on the altar and asked, "Do you know the origins of that heavenly rock race cultivator wearing golden armor?" Nangong Cheong glanced at him and replied, "This person is called Mingyu, the son of the heavenly rock race's clan head. His talent and strength are not bad. Unfortunately, the heavenly rock race has too few resources. Otherwise, he would be someone on the same level as the little heavenly monkey." Based on Nangong Cheong's words, she did not care about this golden-armored youth. However, Xiao Chen had a different opinion. "The situation is different from what I thought. Mo Lingtian is no longer of any value. Later, you should directly kill him. The sage-grade secret treasure pagoda is yours. I will split 70% of his treasures with you." Originally, Nangong Cheong had intended to use Mo Lingtian to hide her identity to prevent being surrounded. However, now that a few people with backgrounds no weaker than hers arrived, there was no longer a need to hide her identity. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Interesting. Since I am going to make a move, you still want to take 70%? Nangong Cheong raised her pretty eyebrows slightly. Then, she immediately smiled and said, "Good, it is settled then. The sage-grade pagoda is yours. You take 70% of the treasures and I will split 30. I fell for it. This girl is just digging a hole for me. Without doing anything, she obtained 30% of Mo Lingtian's treasures. Interacting with this girl is really worrisome. Xiao Chen later, when the Star-Grave Palace falls, we will do the same. You will take the lead and help us carve out a path," Mo Lingtian said casually. Mo Lingtian said casually, as if he was giving orders to the world. However, he did not know that Xiao Chen and Nangong Cheong had already ignored him. They were secretly discussing how to split the treasures after killing him. As the two spoke, the resplendent star outside the barrier of the sky completely overlapped with the direction of the altar. The heavenly rock race elders, who had been prepared for a long time, immediately took action, quickly forming hand seals. The complicated formation lit up with a boundless light. The 49 spirit veins' origins drained at a visible rate. When the spirit veins' origins were completely drained, a boundless suction suddenly came from the altar, locking down the Star-Grave Palace in the sky. In the next moment, the Star-Grave Palace descended at an extremely fast speed. Soon, it touched the barrier of the sky. A bright fiery light blazed in the night sky, blazing fiercely. It was a wondrous scene, magnificent and magnificent. As the fiery light spread, the Star-Grave Palace broke through the barrier of the sky, slowly appearing before everyone's eyes. Boom! 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 Countless fiery lights shot out like meteors, shooting across the vast desolate desert and exploding in a chain of horrifying sound. At this moment, everyone held their breath as they looked at the sky. A small castle-like grave palace floated in the air, looking like it would fall at any moment. Whoosh! 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 The 1,000-odd heavenly rock race cultivators all shot up, quickly flying towards the entrances of the grave palace. The other cultivators, who had been waiting outside for a long time, all flew over as well. Several incredible people even rushed into the entrances ahead of the heavenly rock race cultivators. Lights of various colors flickered in the night sky. The scene turned chaotic. Emolingtian frowned slightly. It looked like the grave palace was about to land, but Xiao Chen did not move at all. He shouted angrily, "Xiao Chen, didn't I tell you to open a path for us? Are you tired of living? Why are you still not moving?" As Emolingtian spoke, Xiao Chen moved. However, this action startled the Eternal Heavenly Sword School's half-sage elders. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, deities descending, tenfold combat prowess. Bang! Without giving Emolingtian any chance to react, Xiao Chen, who was very close, directly executed deities descending and punched Emolingtian's head, turning it into a shower of blood. Emolingtian, who had always been arrogant and did not care about Xiao Chen, died just like that from Xiao Chen's punch that multiplied his combat prowess tenfold. It was direct and efficient, extremely miserable. The other 5 Eternal Heavenly Sword School half-sage elders immediately felt dizzy. Why did the white-robed bladesman, who did whatever he was told to do earlier, attack Emolingtian so boldly? Furthermore, when Xiao Chen attacked, he erupted with a horrifying aura and a surging golden fist wind, completely suppressing everyone present. By the time they reacted, Xiao Chen had already stretched out his hand to grab the sage-grade pagoda that flew out of Emolingtian's body and put it into his universe ring. "You! How bold! How dare you kill the top true inheritor of our Eternal Heavenly Sword School?" The 5 Eternal Heavenly Sword School elders pointed at Xiao Chen with murderous intent. Boom! The Star-Grave Palace landed on the ground. Heaven and earth shook, and an overwhelming sound drowned out the voices of the 5 half-sages. The surging shock waves that followed, filling the air with yellow sand, knocked Xiao Chen's group into the air. Although the energy contained in the shock waves was great, they were rather scattered. Although Xiao Chen and the others were knocked back, they did not suffer any injuries. The 5 Eternal Heavenly Sword School half-sage elders stabilized themselves and glared at Xiao Chen. Their killing chi surged like a vast ocean. "Xiao Chen, to think that you are so despicable! Earlier, you killed the clan head of a subordinate clan of my Eternal Heavenly Sword School. My clan's disciple was kind and did not make things difficult for you. To think that you repaid kindness with enmity, sneak attacking us!" One of the elders exclaimed in rage. They had been relying on Emolingtian. In the future, when Emolingtian became the sect master of the Eternal Heavenly Sword School, he would give them countless benefits. However, now that Emolingtian died, there would definitely be a new top true inheritor. A new emperor would recruit his own subordinate. The new top true inheritor would definitely have his own subordinate. How could there be any benefits for them? You must die. Even if you have the Haotian sect backing you, we will kill you today. Xiao Chen silently circulated the myriad heaven divine fist and laughed loudly. Then, he shouted coldly, "What is the point of saying so much? You are all very clear on what you are planning. You want to kill me, but I do not intend to let you leave alive. Do you really think that you can do whatever you want to me? The 5 were only slightly stronger than Sidu Lei and much weaker than Wu Yuankai. Now that Xiao Chun had learned a superior grade heaven-ranked martial technique, why would he care about them? Sagely songs, singing a distant legend. A grand and majestic song rang out. Xiao Chun flew forward without hesitation. With every step he took, a golden light shone down. Sagely song surrounded him, and a holy aura spread out. This is the aura of the deity race's superior grade heaven-ranked martial technique. How does he know it? The 5 half-sage elders exchanged looks, unable to hide the shock in their eyes. Chapter 759. Boom! A golden fist wind surged out. Xiao Chen's vital qi, mental energy, and quintessence gathered to form a strong golden energy, forming a vast radiance that spread out in an instant. The 5 attacked at the same time. They all executed their martial techniques but still could not block. That radiance shattered their quintessence martial technique. The 5 eternal heavenly sword school half-sages vomited a mouthful of blood and took 100 steps back. Their eyes were filled with horror. Let's go. This brat is too demonic. We are not a match for him. Let's go back and report this to the sect master and get him to invite the Supreme Elder out. The 5 eternal heavenly sword school half-sages actually wanted to retreat from Xiao Chen's punch. You think you can leave? Radiance of deities. Xiao Chen smiled coldly. The deities of the Permitha heavenly nation focused their gazes on him. His body immediately shone with an indescribably dazzling light. He looked like a deity walking in the world. The golden light on Xiao Chen's fist was as dazzling as the sun. When he punched, a majestic golden pillar of light immediately shot out. Everywhere it passed, the dust scattered and the air burned. The pillar of light struck the 5 flying half-sage elders. It was like they were struck by lightning. They vomited a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Xiao Chen withdrew his fist and stood upright. The golden light on his body slowly faded away. However, the golden radiance in the air lingered for a long time, looking immortal. His figure flashed as he rode on the blue dragon. Then, Xiao Chen attacked the 5 half-sages, killing them expressionlessly. When Nangong Qiong, who was behind, saw this scene, she was flabbergasted. Earlier, when Xiao Chen killed Mo Lingtian in one move, he had relied on a surprise attack. But this time, he'd actually killed 5 half-saints. Although these 5 were not worth mentioning among half-sages, much weaker than Wu Yuankai and those demonic geniuses, they were still 5 half-sages. However, these were still 5 half-sages after all. Xiao Chun had casually killed them. This was somewhat shocking. Even with the myriad heaven divine fist, he should not be this strong. After all, he was only a superior grade martial monarch. There was only one explanation, and that was that his psychic energy far surpassed that of ordinary people. It was comparable to the geniuses of the god race. His spiritual force was comparable to the geniuses of the god race, and he also possessed a vast amount of true essence that far surpassed the god race. With the 3 combined, the myriad heaven divine fist seemed to be tailor-made for him. Compared to the geniuses of the deity race, he could bring out even more power. Nangong Qiong thought for a while and immediately figured out what was going on. The strength of the Xiao Chen before her was probably no weaker than any of the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain. The myriad heaven divine fist displayed its might once again. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. As the purple thunder divine incantation tempered mental energy, his mental energy had always been far superior to that of ordinary people. But most of the time, mental energy could only be used as divine sense for detection. It was like a pearl covered in dust, completely wasted. After obtaining the myriad heaven divine fist, this pearl shone brilliantly, revealing its extraordinary might. In the future, when the purple thunder divine incantation advanced to the 7th layer, Xiao Chen's mental energy would continue to increase. At that time, he might be able to learn the deeper mysteries of the myriad heaven divine fist in advance. Xiao Chen took out the spatial rings of the 5 half-sages and scanned them with his spiritual sense. First, he counted the astral coins in them. There was a total of 300,000 astral coins. It looked like, as elders of the eternal heavenly sword school, these 5 were not particularly rich. Xiao Chen had obtained more than 200,000 astral coins from Wu Yuankai alone. Furthermore, that was not including the valuable pair of dark gold gloves. Ding! Nangong Qiong tossed out a spatial ring and said with a smile, "This is Mo Lingtian's spatial ring. I already took 30% of it. The remaining 70% is yours." Xiao Chen casually caught the spatial ring and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He discovered 300,000 astral coins, all sorts of medicinal pills, and a secret manual for the Thunderstep. He wondered if that lass kept her promise and only took 30% of the profit. However, even if she did not keep her promise, Xiao Chen could not fall out with this girl immediately. Firstly, he did not know her limit. Secondly, this girl clearly understood the Stargrave Palace a lot. After he entered, he would definitely need to rely on her. However, no matter what, Xiao Chen now had more than 1,000,000 astral coins. His wealth had definitely soared, far surpassing that of an ordinary person. Looking around, there was not a single person to be seen in the previously bustling place. Without exception, everyone had surged into the massive Star Tomb Palace. Nangong Qiong, did you notice that the many heavenly rock race cultivators all flew in before the Stargrave Palace fell? However, there was one person who did not move. Xiao Chen asked calmly as he looked at the Stargrave Palace. Surprised, Nangong Qiong asked, "Who?" When the Stargrave Palace fell, if one stood below, one would definitely be crushed to death. The heavenly rock race's young clan head, Ming Yu. Did you see wrong? Absolutely not. I saw him standing on the altar with my own eyes. He did not fly up with the other heavenly rock race cultivators. When Nangong Qiong heard this, her expression changed. She said, "The situation is not good. I probably underestimated this person earlier. We have to go in quickly." Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, "Wait for a while. Let me refine that sage-grade pagoda first before we enter." With a flip of his hand, an exquisite pagoda flew out of the universe ring. After the pagoda flew out, it immediately soared into the sky, trying to leave. The sage-grade pagoda already had a trace of spirituality. It instinctively did not want to be refined by others. How could Xiao Chen let it go? His strong mental energy locked the pagoda in place. Then, he sent his spiritual sense into the core of the pagoda and erased Mo Lingtian's spiritual mark, replacing it with his own. After nourishing it for a while, Xiao Chen's spiritual mark completely occupied the pagoda, wiping out the aura that Mo Lingtian left behind. With a thought, the pagoda turned into a beam of light and returned to Xiao Chen's chest. Then, it merged with his flesh and blood, becoming one. This was the ability of a sage-grade secret treasure. Nangong Qiong could not help feeling somewhat jealous. This fellow's mental energy is really heaven-defying. I wonder what kind of fortuitous encounter he had? If it were an ordinary person, it would be difficult to refine this sage-grade secret treasure without 3 to 5 days. However, Xiao Chen did it as easily as if he was eating or drinking. Come, let's enter the Grave Palace. After refining this pagoda, Xiao Chen's confidence in his strength increased. Then, he took the lead and flew towards the entrance of a grave palace. A dark passageway appeared before the two. Cold qi came from the walls on both sides of the passageway, causing them to shiver involuntarily. Xiao Chen quickly circulated his quintessence and forced out the cold qi. How cold! Why does it feel like I fell into an ice cave? Nangong Qiong carefully looked around and said casually, "The Heavenly Rock King used a heavenly ice star to forge this grave palace. The temperature of the heavenly ice star is comparable to ice marrow. Be careful, don't let the cold qi invade your body. Otherwise, it will turn into a cold poison. After walking for a while, Nangong Cheong stretched out her hand and pressed a spot on the wall. The wall opened and a grave room appeared before the two. Unfortunately, aside from simple decorations, there was nothing else in there. The auras of any treasures did not leak out. The two continued forward. Along the way, Nangong Cheong opened up many hidden grave rooms. However, she did not gain anything from them. Occasionally, she found pleasant surprises, but they were just small items. After walking for a while, the number of people in front increased. Nangong Cheong did not hold back, so she opened up the hidden grave rooms in front of all the cultivators. This caused everyone to feel astonished, and they all followed suit. Kassier. Another secret room opened, and a beam of light shone out from inside. A vast emperor's might spread out together with the light, startling the many cultivators following behind. It's a fragment of the great rock spreading wings painting. Someone immediately recognized this item and cried out in pleasant surprise. The crowd immediately erupted into an uproar. All of you scram! This painting fragment belongs to me, Yun Feiyang. No one is allowed to snatch it. Bang! 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 The people behind were knocked into the air. A group of half-sages wearing the uniform of the Heavenly Tiger sect charged over arrogantly and despotically. The Heavenly Tiger sect was a sect established by a group of cultivators who left the Fiend Domain's Heavenly Tiger race. After 1,000 years of development, they had gained a firm foothold in Hunluo province. The Heavenly Tiger sect was an absolute hegemon in the vicinity of Hunluo province, no weaker than the Eternal Heavenly Sword School. Their arrogance and despotic behavior made perfect sense. The human and fiend race cultivators who came here were all outstanding talents, barely qualified to be called geniuses. At the very least, they were peak superior grade martial monarchs. Many of them were even half-sages. However, before the Heavenly Tiger sex group, they did not dare to be too unbridled. They all opened up a path and glared at Yun Feiyang, who was the leader, in extreme displeasure. When the Soaring Serpent Mansion's people arrive, let's see if you still dare to be arrogant. Several of the people who were knocked into the air by the Heavenly Tiger sect said hatefully, showing dissatisfaction in their eyes. The Soaring Serpent Mansion's people had also taken this entrance. If nothing unexpected happened, they would feel the energy fluctuations of the great rock spreading wings painting piece, and would rush over soon. At that time, there would be a fierce battle. These people might be able to fish in troubled waters and obtain fortuitous encounters. Although the Heavenly Tiger sex people were strong, the others only hid at the side. No one intended to leave. Yun Feiyang was tall and stout. He wore a fur coat, and his facial features were broad. With one glance, he looked very imposing. As he walked, he exuded a mighty aura. Come over here. Yun Feiyang spread his fingers, and a suction force formed by fiend energy passed over Xiao Chun and Nangong Cheong, heading for the secret room. Yun Feiyang was very arrogant. He did not care about anything, wanting to snatch away the great rock spreading wings painting piece in front of the two. Nangong Cheong placed her right hand on Xiao Chen's shoulder and stopped him. She said, "Don't be in such a rush. He will not snatch away the painting piece that easily. Let's use him to exhaust the energy in the painting piece first." The dazzling great rock spreading wings painting piece radiating emperors might quickly flew towards Yun Feiyang. The smile on Yun Feiyang's face widened. Bang! Just as Yun Feiyang was about to grab the painting piece, something strange happened. A vast, surging energy burst out from the painting piece. Boom! It knocked the others back. "Young master, are you all right?" The Heavenly Tiger sect's half-sage elders showed shocked expressions as they quickly rushed over. Yun Feiyang waved his hand and said sullenly, "I'm fine. It looks like the energy contained in this painting piece cannot be underestimated. I was a little careless. I'll just have to try again." "Yun Feiyang, you want to snatch the painting piece with that little ability of yours? Even if I gave you a chance, you would not be able to grab it. At the top of the tomb, a figure quickly dashed out and grabbed at the map fragment. However, just as the figure was about to touch the map fragment, a figure suddenly appeared. However, just as that figure was about to touch the painting piece, that force knocked him back. Chapter 760. The Soaring Serpent Mansion's Zhuo Guangyuan is here. The eyes of the surrounding cultivators immediately lit up. Now that Zhuo Guangyuan was here, it would not be so easy for Yun Feiyang to obtain the painting piece. With the two tigers fighting, their chance had finally arrived. Bang! 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 The group of half-sage elders from the Soaring Serpent Mansion pushed through the crowd and rushed over to support Zhuo Guangyuan. When Yun Feiyang saw Zhuo Guangyuan falling down in a sorry state, he mocked. "Brother Zhuo, you are very capable. You nearly managed to grab the painting piece." Yun Feiyang emphasized the word, nearly, making Zhuo Guangyuan's expression turn unsightly. "Unfortunately, it was nearly. This painting piece was prepared for me, Yun Feiyang." A venomous, sinister look flashed in Zhuo Guangyuan's eyes. He said in a cold voice, "You are too delusional. Hu Qi." Just at this moment, the Emperor painting fragment floating in the air was suddenly pulled over by a huge suction force. The Emperor's might contained in the painting piece was mostly nullified by that suction. Then, the painting piece appeared before the person who made a move. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave and stern. He circulated all his quintessence, vital qi, and mental energy, as well as the sovereign's qi in his bloodline at the same time. Xiao Chen's aura soared. His black hair fluttered everywhere, and his white robes fluttered. Suddenly, he attracted everyone's attention. He stretched his hand forward and grabbed the dazzling Emperor map fragment. With a buzz, he caught it in his hand. Boom! Surging energy surged out of Xiao Chen's palm, forming a strong wind that swept through the surroundings. The wind howled, sounding like a vast army galloping. The surroundings of the grave passage trembled violently. Several people could not stand stably and nearly fell. Everyone looked at Xiao Chen incredulously. Where exactly did this person come from? Not only did he know all the hidden rooms of the grave palace, but he also knew about them. Not only did he know the various hidden rooms of the grave palace, but he also held the painting piece firmly in his hand, something that Yun Feiyang and Zhuo Guangyuan could not easily suppress. Xiao Chen withdrew the painting piece with a flip of his palm and placed it in his universe ring. "You are seeking death. How dare you snatch what belongs to me, Yun Feiyang? Reckless fool!" Zhuo Guangyuan and Yun Feiyang could not hold themselves back anymore. How could they let someone else obtain the treasure that they wanted? Then, they leaped up and charged at Xiao Chen together, radiating killing qi. Such a scene immediately shocked everyone. They thought that the two of them would fight fiercely, but they actually joined hands to attack the same person. However, what astonished them even more was to come. Suddenly, a majestic and resonant holy song rang out from the palace grave. Xiao Chen, who was surrounded by the holy song, stepped forward and punched. The golden light poured out like a heavy weight. Yun Feiyang and Zhuo Guangyuan, who were surging with murderous qi, both grunted as Xiao Chen knocked them back with one punch. How is this possible? The top true inheritors of the Heavenly Tiger sect and the Soaring Serpent Mansion were actually sent flying with a single punch. The cultivators waiting at the side to take advantage of the situation were all startled. The expressions of the half-sage elders of the two sects changed drastically. They stopped hesitating and attacked. In that instant, strong winds blew in the air. 10 odd figures burst out with martial techniques of all sorts, charging at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. If it were in the past, he would not have dared to be careless when facing 10 odd half-sages who were as strong as Gu Mu. However, now that his physical body had reached rank 2 sage body, he had consumed the dragon marrow to form an internal defense, and he had refined the sage-grade defensive pagoda. No matter how many clowns there was no need to fear them. An image of a pagoda encased Xiao Chen. With a thought, His mental energy and veritable essence energy poured into the pagoda like a river. The illusory pagoda immediately materialized at a visible pace. Eventually, it looked like a supreme pagoda standing there, unafraid of wind and rain, unafraid of mountains and rivers. Dang, dang, dang. The attacks of 10 odd half-sages struck the pagoda, producing loud bangs that resounded endlessly. Waves of chi spread out, forming a terrifying gust of wind that swept through the tomb. When the strong wind scattered and the shock waves vanished, the 10 odd half-sages were shocked to discover that Xiao Chen was unharmed in the pagoda, looking at them expressionlessly. "Get the hell down here!" A light flashed, and the sage-grade pagoda returned to Xiao Chen's body, merging with his flesh and blood. Xiao Chen shouted ferociously and soared into the air, bringing out the radiance of a deity. Xiao Chen's fist shone with a light like that of a small sun, forming an unparalleled, majestic pillar of light that shot out. The 10 odd half-sage elders in the air all vomited a mouthful of blood. They cried out miserably as they fell from the sky. When Yun Feiyang and Zhuo Guangyuan, who were on the ground, saw this scene, horror filled their eyes. They both muttered to themselves and wanted to reveal their true forms at the same time. If a fiend race cultivator revealed their true form, their strength would increase by at least 50%, making them very difficult to deal with. Xiao Chen smiled coldly. How could he give them such an opportunity? Kassier! Kassier! Golden chains appeared behind him. Divine scripts circulated around them, releasing a mighty pressure. Xiao Chen punched the air, and the chains danced around like berserk dragons. Whoosh! The chains wrapped around the two. The divine scripts on the chains contained a strangely strong sealing power, suppressing the surging auras in the two's bodies. The two's complexions flushed, and their eyes glared with rage. No matter how they struggled, they could not move at all. Their strength slowly decreased, and after a while, they were like ordinary people. When Xiao Chen landed, he casually waved his hand, and a cool breeze formed by quintessence gently blew the two off the ground, sending them crashing into a wall. With the strength of one person, Xiao Chen easily defeated the top true inheritors of two great sects and a group of half-sage elders. Xiao Chen swept his gaze around, and the cultivators who remained there were all frightened out of their wits. They immediately scattered, fleeing frantically. "Congratulations, young Master Xiao. You displayed your might and obtained a painting piece." After the battle ended, Nangong Qiong appeared from somewhere. She had a faint smile on her face as she spoke. Xiao Chen was already numb to Nangong Qiong's attitude. There was no need to rely on her to help at any time. Just treat her as heir. Right, as long as she is heir, I will not get angry if I can't see her. Xiao Chen glanced at Yun Feiyang and Xiao Chen, who had failed to reveal their true forms and were sealed by the divine chains, and walked over. The two were severely injured. They found it difficult to even stand up for now. The divine chains sealed their strength. If the seal did not last for long, they would be no different from ordinary people. Xiao Chen ignored the two's curses and their childish threats. He directly took the two's spatial rings and took all the astral coins and peak superior grade secret treasures. After that, they continued forward. With Nangong Qiong leading the way, Xiao Chen only needed to follow behind her, saving him a lot of trouble. Advancing stealthily, Zhang Xian passed through several corridors. Regardless of whether it was a hidden chamber or a room that existed publicly, most of them were empty. Unexpectedly, aside from the painting pieces, there was nothing in the grave palace of the Heavenly Rock King. This was simply inexcusable. Something's wrong. Why are there no treasures in the secret rooms? Nangong Qiong asked after walking for a long time. She frowned slightly and stopped. Nangong Qiong had two goals in coming here. One was to enter the core hall and take away the core painting piece of the Great Rock Spreading Wings painting. The second was to find the treasures hidden in the various secret rooms. As a sovereign martial emperor, the Heavenly Rock King's former residence would definitely have many precious treasures. If she could obtain them all, the accumulated value would be much higher than the core painting piece. When Xiao Qin saw Nangong Qiong stop, he asked, "What's wrong? Someone probably got ahead of us." The Heavenly Rock Race's people probably do not care about the painting pieces. Their goal is to obtain the treasures left behind by the Heavenly Rock King. They used the painting pieces to attract the attention of others and obtained the treasures in the Grave Palace. Then, they stayed out of the matter. This is indeed a brilliant plan. Nangong Qiong spoke of her guesses. Right now, the Heavenly Rock Race had already declined to the point of extinction. They did not even have a martial sage. Although the Heavenly Rock Race had many people, in reality, it was hard to say who would win if they fought with the people who came. Let's go. Let's not waste time here. Let's go directly to the Grave Palace's Eternal Rest Hall. Hopefully, nothing unexpected has happened to the core painting piece. Many hidden doors opened on the top floor of the vast Grave Palace. The figures of the Heavenly Rock Race cultivators leaped out of them. Then, they quickly landed on the ground, distancing themselves from the Grave Palace. As the figures came over and presented the treasures they obtained in the Grave Palace, the three old men leading the group revealed increasingly joyful expressions. There are more than 10,000 superior-grade spirit-gathering pearls, 50 million astral coins, more than 100 sage-grade secret treasures, close to 5,000 superior-grade secret treasures, and more than 10,000 spirit weapons and treasure armor. There are more than 3,000 bottles of Grade 8 medicinal pills and more than 100 bottles of sage medicinal pills. Patriarch, with these resources, it won't be long before our Sky Rock Race rises again. The Sky Rock Race's patriarch, Ming Fan, smiled and said, "It's worth it. We used 49 low-grade rank 1 spirit veins in exchange for so many resources. It's enough for our Sky Rock Race to use for 500 years. The gray-robed elder on the right said, "Now it all depends on young Master Mingyu. If he can successfully obtain the core map fragment, then this mission will come to a perfect conclusion." Junior tribe leader, "That's too risky. There are quite a few demon-level geniuses that came this time. Even us old bones are afraid of them," said the old man on the left worriedly. Ming Fan sighed and said in a low voice, "This is his own choice. Right now, Kunlun is in the golden age of 10,000 years. He is very proud and does not want to be buried as a spectator. He can only take a gamble." The elder on the right said, "Patriarch, old Lu and the others have yet to come out after collecting the Heavenly Ice Sword. Could they have met with some trouble?" Ming Fan muttered, "Never mind. The Heavenly Ice Sword is not hidden at all. I do not have much hope. Let's go. We should quit while we're ahead. If others discover us, we will be in big trouble." Ming Fan was very cautious. He carefully put away the resources that he had and quickly led the Heavenly Rock Race cultivators away from this place. Inside the Grave Palace, Xiao Chun and Nangong Qiong did not take any detours and headed straight ahead. 1 hour later, horrifying miserable cries came from the corner of the grave entrance. The heavy stench of blood in the enclosed space was unbearable. Chapter 761. Xiao Chun frowned and turned his head to take a look. A large number of cultivators gathered at the exit of the passageway, fighting a spider-like ferocious beast with an extremely strange aura. This ferocious beast was described as strange because although Xiao Chun could feel the horrifying aura coming from it, he could not sense any life force at all. Interesting. It is actually a demonic puppet refined from an astral venom spider. I want this demonic puppet. When Nangong Qiong saw this ferocious beast, her bright eyes immediately revealed a trace of joy. She casually waved her hand, and an elegant wooden umbrella appeared in her hand. The plain-looking umbrella gave off an ancient aura. Xiao Chen looked carefully and discovered several hundred arm-thick heavenly sage laws around the umbrella. A high-quality sage-grade secret treasure. Xiao Chen's pupils constricted, an intense shock flashed in his eyes. This girl was really mysterious. She could casually take out a high-quality sage-grade secret treasure. Shao Chun, be careful. Don't get betrayed by this girl. If I guessed correctly, she is definitely from a sovereign noble clan. Her name might be a fake, Ao Jiao warned from the Immortal Spirit Ring. Shao Chun nodded and said calmly, don't worry. I have not used the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram or the strength character formula. After all, she is not a martial sage. I still have some trump cards against her. Nangong Qiong left very quickly and returned very quickly as well. In less than 15 minutes, she returned to Shao Chen's side. An exquisite astral venom spider appeared in her palm like a doll. After she put it away, she smiled and said, let's go. There seems to be a treasure in front that the Heavenly Rock Race's people did not take away. No wonder this group of people is so stubborn despite the obstruction of the astral venom spider. Hearing that there was a treasure, Shao Chun took the lead. After passing through the entrance, the scene before him suddenly widened. A vast palace with grand decorations appeared before Shao Chun. The cultivators that came from the various entrances all gathered here. Aside from the true inheritors of the 6 factions, the fiend race geniuses that Nangong Qiong paid special attention to, the little heavenly monkey Feng and the silver moon spirit fox Xian Yu, were also here. However, it was very quiet at this moment. Heroes from all over had gathered together, but no one made a sound. The atmosphere was so quiet that it was a little strange. In the center of the palace there was a towering stone platform. On top of the stone platform, there was a pitch-black sword that exuded a chilling aura and a restrained brilliance. It was obvious that it was not an ordinary sword. Heavenly Ice Sword! Nangong Qiong exclaimed softly. Then, she came to a sudden realization and said, so that's how it is. No wonder Yan Shi-san would travel such a great distance to come here. I knew it. He mainly cultivates the massacre sword Dao. How could the map fragment be so attractive to him? The Heavenly Ice Sword was forged by the Heavenly Rock King using the source of the Heavenly Ice Star. Unfortunately, after it was forged, it lacked a bit of spirituality. Heavenly Rock King was greatly disappointed. He had always shelved it, never using it. The Heavenly Rock King did not think much of this sword, but in the eyes of others, it was a peerless treasure. As long as it could nurture an artifact spirit, it would become a high-grade subdivine weapon. A fragment of a subdivine weapon of the Thunder King was able to attract the attention of a martial sage of Hunluo City. Now, as long as it was nurtured properly, it could definitely become a subdivine weapon. Naturally, it went without saying how attractive it was. Everyone wanted to obtain the Heavenly Ice Sword. However, no one dared to act rashly. The normally arrogant geniuses all became cautious. Everyone knew that the bird that poked its head out would be shot. If they acted rashly now, they would definitely offend everyone and become the target of everyone's attack. Everyone was waiting for a chaotic situation so that they could make their move amidst the chaos. Hu Qi. Amid this strange and quiet atmosphere, a black figure gently drifted over. This person did not care about the murderous gazes of the others as he casually stood on the stone platform. This was a slender, young swordsman in black with a stern expression. This was the person that Nangong Qiong feared the most, Yan Shi-san. While the many geniuses did not dare to provoke the crowd and waited quietly, the black-clad swordsman calmly stood on the stone platform. Not bad. This is a good sword. I want it. The many geniuses stared at the black-clad swordsman with murderous intent. However, Yan Shi-san ignored them. He stretched out his hand to grab the pitch-black sword hilt. Where did this nameless brat come from? How dare he speak nonsense here? The Heavenly Ice Sword is the treasure of our Heavenly Rock race. No one is allowed to snatch it. Yan Shi-san was not very famous here. Or rather, he was too famous. Without reaching a certain level, one would not know of his origins. Seeing that Yan Shi-san was going to grab the Heavenly Ice Sword, the 3 half-sage old men of the Heavenly Rock race immediately became enraged and quickly revealed their true forms. The bones on their backs wiggled, and a pair of heavenly rock wings unfurled. The wings flapped ferociously, kicking up a strong wind. The three old men charged at Yen Shursan like a bolt of lightning with a towering flame burning in their eyes. Yen Shursan's eyebrows twitched. He had not expected these three heavenly rock race old men to be dissatisfied with him taking the heavenly ice sword. Since you do not practice the sword, what is the point of having a sword? The greedy usually die the fastest. Yen Shursan did not move at all. He glanced around and moved his fingers slightly. The buzzing of countless swords came from the air, linking together as if there were countless swords hidden in the air. A strong and pure sword intent flowed everywhere in the air, forming a torrent of formless blades. The entire hall started trembling continuously. The swords in the hands of several cultivators were about to fly out uncontrollably, causing these cultivators to panic. This is a peak great perfection sword intent. Someone exclaimed in disbelief, revealing a horrified expression. A peak great perfection sword intent was already infinitely close to perfection, able to condense a sword's soul at any time. This was something that several martial sages, who had lived for 100 years, could not do. Unexpectedly, this youth did it. Suddenly, Yen Shursan stopped moving his fingers, and the hidden swords in the air all stopped buzzing. The torrent of swords flowing everywhere also stopped moving at this moment. Everything fell silent, not a single sound could be heard. The huge difference seemed to cause others to have the misconception that the powerful and vast sword intent at the advanced stage earlier was not real. Just as these doubts appeared in everyone's mind, Yen Shursan made his move and gently waved his hand. Boom! Countless crisp sounds connected together, forming a rumbling sound that resembled a tidal wave. The countless swords hidden in the void all stabbed out at the same time. They gathered together and formed a berserk dragon made of swords. The body of the berserk dragon hummed with thousands of swords, and a boundless state of massacre spread out from it. Bang! The massacre berserk dragon howled as it flew by. The various martial techniques executed by the three heavenly rock race cultivators, who had revealed their true forms, vanished like smoke. Sword lights shot out, and a scarlet light spread everywhere. Before the three old men could scream, they were sliced into countless spurts of blood. The blood infused into the berserk dragon. A faint layer of blood mist dyed the berserk dragon made of sword lights, making it look like a blood dragon with overwhelming killing chi. Yen Shursan casually waved his hand and killed 3 half-sages. The entire hall fell silent, dumbfounded. What exactly is this fellow's background? The Yen clan was a hidden sovereign noble clan. Ordinary people would not know of such a clan. When facing the horrifying Yen Shursan, everyone thought hard but could not figure out where such an expert came from. Acting all mysterious, I Wang Ying will test you out. A sinister wind blew and carried a figure towards Yen Shursan. It was Ting Peng, the top true inheritor of the Blood Shadow sect, one of the 6 great sects of Hunluo province. When Yen Shursan saw Ting Peng in the sinister wind, he raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Interesting. There is finally someone using the sword, even though he does not cultivate the righteous Tao." Yen Shursan grasped his sword hilt with his right hand, not drawing his sword. He pointed forward, and a dense black sword chi immediately shot out from the scabbard, moving as fast as a meteor. The sword chi contained the massacre sword Tao that could destroy everything. Everywhere it passed, even the air seemed to lose its life force and wither. Kasie. The sword chi easily tore through the sinister wind, piercing through Ting Peng's protective quintessence and the superior grade inner vest he wore before piercing through his body. The black sword chi spread out with a surging state of massacre. No matter how Ting Peng blocked, he could not suppress the aura of massacre that could destroy everything. Ting Peng's complexion was as pale as paper. The sinister wind around him scattered, and he appeared fatigued and lifeless. Unexpectedly, not only did this sword strike injure his physical body, but the sword chi containing the massacre Tao even injured his life force. Young master. The blood shadow sex half-sage, old Zhao, showed a startled expression as he quickly flew over and caught Ting Peng. Attacked together. The few half-sage elders all showed furious expressions as they charged at Yan Shisan. The Bone Mausoleum Halls Wang Ying and the magnificent Fiend Halls Xiang Fei hesitated for a moment before leading their half-sage elders over as well. If they did not attack now and were defeated by Yan Shisan, they would no longer have a chance to obtain the Heavenly Ice Sword. Yan Shisan smiled faintly as he looked at the 20-odd half-sages flying over, not showing any fear. He did not even draw his black sword, just casually brandishing it. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Yan Shisan's veritable essence energy surged, and the scabbard danced. Under his guidance, berserk dragons made of the massacre Dao surged in all directions. The swords buzzed endlessly in the hall, sounding like a flowing waterfall. A strong wind howled and shook the surroundings. The various half-sages could not even block the berserk sword dragons, much less approach Yan Shisan. He fought against so many half-step saints all by himself, and he didn't even have to draw his sword. Xiao Chun appeared slightly stunned. This fellow is really strong. Of the 7 giants, only Juanshi can compete with him. If Xiao Chun can put some distance between them, his first senior sister might have a chance of victory. As for the other giants, if they did not have any fortuitous encounters in the past few months, none of them would be a match for him. No wonder that Nangong Qiong treated him as her greatest opponent. Xiao Chun thought, fortunately, I practice the saber and not the sword. There is no need to fight with this person. Otherwise, I would have to expose all my trump cards. No swordsman could resist the temptation of the Heavenly Ice Sword. If Xiao Chun practiced the sword, no matter how strong Yan Shisan was, he would fight for it. Even if he could not defeat Yan Shisan, he would do his best. Otherwise, it would be hard to avoid regret. A powerful treasure sword was not something one could come across at any time. Chapter 762. As the half-sages fell one by one, the berserk sword dragons slowly vanished, and the hall regained its calm. The eyes of the injured half-sages on the ground and Yan Shisan, who stood with his hands behind his back on the sovereign's stone platform, flashed with unconcealable horror. Bai, you use the sword. I'll help you snatch this heavenly ice sword. Xian Yu could tell that Bai was tempted, so he smiled gently and said gently, if Xiao Chun could help her obtain the heavenly ice sword now, he would definitely be able to capture her heart in one go. When Xian Yu's second uncle heard this, his expression changed drastically. Bai could not help but frown deeply. When he saw that Xian Yu was about to make a move, he said anxiously, there's no need. I'll go and get it myself. Seeing Bai fly out first, Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya quickly followed. Xian Yu's expression changed slightly. He had not expected that Bai would personally make a move for the sake of not appreciating his kindness. Xian Yu snorted coldly and was about to get up. Don't be rash. This person is Yan Shisan, the demonic genius of a sovereign noble clan. You are not a match for him. Xian Yu's second uncle quickly made a move to stop him. Then, he told him about the horrors of a sovereign noble clan. After Xian Yu heard the other party's explanation, his expression changed, and he slowly stopped himself from making a move. The massacre sword Dao. If my life's origin is injured, my future will be ruined. Xiao Chen, who was originally planning to watch the show, suddenly saw a familiar figure fly out from the crowd. He was stunned and smiled bitterly helplessly. Back then, I really should not have let her walk the sword Dao. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and rode a blue dragon image. Then, he soared into the sky, intending to block Bai. Yan Shisan's massacre sword Dao was clearly different from the state of massacre of regular cultivators. It was an extremely pure Dao of massacre. Using massacre as a sword, it could destroy everything, destroying all life force. If one's origin was accidentally injured, it would not be something that could be healed in a few days. A dragon roar resounded in all directions. Riding the dragon, Xiao Chen leaped up and instantly arrived before Bai, Jiang Zimo, and Mu Xinya. Yan San stood with his hands behind his back on the 100-meter-tall stone platform in front. He did not do anything, but the berserk dragons formed by the 3 massacring swords circled around him. As soon as he saw someone coming over, he immediately shouted and rushed over. Kill, 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 kill. Xiao Chen faced the berserk dragon formed by the 3 massacring swords head-on. He personally experienced the state of massacre contained in the swords. The tens of thousands of swords clashed in front of him. Every single sword was ferocious, like a ferocious beast bearing its fangs. They roared madly, and their voices converged together. They condensed into tens of thousands of kill characters, rising and falling like the tide, pouring into Xiao Chen's mind, throwing his mind into chaos and giving rise to a chill. Xiao Chen finally understood. When those half-sages faced the berserk dragons formed by the swords, they found it very difficult to deal with them. In the end, they all lost. It was not that they were too weak. Rather, it was that this Yan San was too strong. The momentum of the massacre sword Dao was too strong. Could kill everything in the world, destroying all life force. As long as one's mental state and mental energy were not as strong as Yan San's, they would be like pigs before him, swallowed up by the cold and emotionless massacre sword Dao. No matter how strong one's quintessence was, how many martial techniques, or how many secret treasures one had, if one could not bring out even 70% of one's strength, defeat would be a matter of seconds. Xiao Chen roared, and the mental energy in his sea of consciousness surged like a river. As the waves surged, they chased the kill characters out of his mind. Xiao Chen recovered his mental state and his eyes lit up. A sagely song rang out, echoing in the hall. The sagely song recounted a distant legend. Every time it resounded, history spun, and the ancient epic became even more profound. Essence, qi, and spirit. These 3 energies merged at the same time. The strength that he grasped also increased rapidly as he watched the 3 berserk sword dragons fly over. As he looked at the 3 berserk sword dragons, Xiao Chen took a step forward, not retreating. Instead, he charged forward and punched. Myriad heaven divine fist, distant legend. A bright, resplendent, and dazzling light condensed into something solid, looking like ink as it shot out. The light clashed with the berserk killing dragons formed by thousands of swords. Heavy sounds reverberated in the hall. Every strand of light and the killing swords fought to the death, like 2 armies of 10,000 fighting an intense battle on the battlefield. War songs rang out, and a scarlet light spread out like mist. The intense battle gave off horrifying auras that flew everywhere, giving off loud explosions on the ground. The entire hall started trembling intensely. It was like a flash flood or a snowy mountain collapsing. At this critical moment, if one did not flee for their lives, they would suffer a calamity. This was the Heavenly Rock King's Star Grave Palace. Naturally, there would not be a flash flood or a snowy mountain. It was just an atmosphere created by the fight between the 2. Several people showed grave expressions as they looked at the 2 in the air. Horror flickered in their eyes. What kind of demonic genius was this? A fight under martial sage could create such a horrifying atmosphere, deterring people from watching. When everything cleared up and the wind blew over, everyone looked into the distance. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen blocked Yan San's horrifying berserk sword dragons. The massacring berserk sword dragons that terrified the many half-sages and caused them to lose in seconds were blasted into nothingness for the first time. In a head-on clash, they were evenly matched. It's him, the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chen. Amid the chaos, several people recognized Xiao Chen's appearance. Back then, when he shouted a command in Hunluo City, he forced the evil man Wu Yuankai to retreat. Xiao Chen's name spread throughout Hunluo City. Most of the cultivators here were from Hunluo province. After thinking for a while, they recalled Xiao Chen's identity and origins. When they saw that Xiao Chen was actually able to go against Yan Shisan, they couldn't help but be shocked, and they concentrated their attention and watched. Bai's pure and charming face was filled with joy. Tears welled up at the corners of her eyes, and she could not help wanting to rush forward and hug Xiao Chen. "Don't move. Stand behind me. I'll teach you a lesson later. Do you know how dangerous it was earlier?" A familiar voice rang out. Bai showed a bitter expression, feeling somewhat wronged. However, she still obediently took 100 steps back with Mu Xinya and Jiang Zimo. When Xian Yu, who was in the crowd, saw this scene, he had interacted with Bai for a long time. However, he had never seen Bai so obedient before. Jealousy blazed in his heart. "I'll let you show off. After Yan Shisan severely injures you, I'll humiliate you ruthlessly," Xian Yu thought to himself as he glanced at Xiao Chen. The black-robed Yan Shisan stood on the stone platform with the heavenly ice sword stuck in it. He stood as straight as a spear, not moving at all. His stern face did not show any expression. Aside from coldness, there was only coldness. "Since you are a bladesman, why the need to use the deity race's unorthodox Tao?" Yan Shisan narrowed his eyes, and rage flashed in them. His gaze was like a sharp knife stabbing at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly to himself. This person probably misunderstood, thinking that Xiao Chen underestimated him. Not only did Xiao Chen not draw his saber, but he even used unorthodox Tao to deal with him. However, Xiao Chen's current situation was that the myriad heaven divine fist merged 3 kinds of energy. In reality, it already surpassed the original myriad heaven divine fist. It was not much weaker than Xiao Chen's saber technique. In terms of explosive power and destructive power, the myriad heaven divine fist was even stronger. However, since Yan Shisan said that, Xiao Chen had no intention of letting Yan Shisan continue misunderstanding. If he drew his saber, so be it. In the past few days, Xiao Chen had been practicing the Qing Emperor's drawing the saber. Now, he could instantly send out 81 different trajectories. The other party had a peak great perfection sword intent, and Xiao Chen's saber intent had reached 70% comprehension. Saber intent was innately stronger than sword intent. Although Xiao Chen's cultivation realm was weaker, it would not immediately crumble. Holding the lunar shadow saber, Xiao Chen rode on the blue dragon and slowly grasped the saber hilt with his right hand. The saber technique immediately merged with Xiao Chen's state in the surroundings, encasing Yan Shisan. At first, Yan Shisan did not care. Then, his eyes lit up, and his expression slowly turned grave. Unexpectedly, he could not make out the trajectory and position of Xiao Chen's attack. Figures of Xiao Chen holding the saber filled the air. Front, left, right, up, down, it seemed like there was no place where he could draw his saber. Interesting. However, before strong strength, no matter how good a technique is, it is useless. Yan Shisan nodded to himself. He admitted that his drawing the saber was not as good as Xiao Chen's. However, he did not care too much. The absolute difference in strength was too great. Xiao Chen could not use this advantage to finish him off in one move. As long as Xiao Chen could not finish him off in one move, Yan Shisan would be able to do so in an instant. In his opinion, Xiao Chen had only one chance. When Nangong Qiong, who was at the entrance of the distant palace, saw that the two were about to fight, she could not help but feel confused. This Xiao Chen is really worrisome. He looks very gentle and quiet, but when he sees a beautiful woman, he goes completely crazy, daring to offend anyone. That's not right. This young lady believes herself to be an outstanding beauty, no weaker than that little fox. Why is he not reacting to me? What am I thinking? I have to stop them. Otherwise, when we reach the core of the palace, Xiao Chen will not have the strength to help me open the stone steel. Just as Yan Shisan's hand was about to touch his sword hilt, a simple and unadorned wooden umbrella arrived. Nangong Cheong held the umbrella handle and smiled faintly as she appeared beside Xiao Chen. Young Master Shi-san, it has been a long time. When Yen Shi-san saw Nangong Cheong appear, he was clearly startled. Furthermore, she walked over to Xiao Chen. He sent a voice projection, "Ing Cheong, you want to help him? Don't worry about it. In any case, you cannot fight with this person now. Just take your heavenly ice sword and leave." The two quickly exchanged a few words. Then, Yen Shi-san glanced at Bai, who was behind Xiao Chen. Then, he entered deep thought. Then, he gently tossed his black sword forward. Yen Shi-san said calmly, "My Yen clan does not lack subdivine weapons. However, this heavenly ice sword is the most compatible with my killing sword Dao, so I have to obtain it. The sword in my hand is called Snow Feather. In terms of material, craftsmanship, and charm, it is no weaker than the heavenly ice sword. In another 5 years, it will definitely become a subdivine weapon. I'll give it to the young lady behind you." Yen Shi-san gently tossed the snow feather sword, and strands of black light peeled off like paint. This was the killing chi that Yen Shi-san had tempered on it for many years. When the black light scattered, the snow feather sword returned to its original appearance. It was as white as snow, untainted by dust, and its cold light was withdrawn. Xiao Chen received the snow feather sword and looked at Yen Shi-san. Then, he looked at Nangong Cheong, who was feigning ignorance, and he seemed to understand something. Chapter 763. However, Xiao Chen was even more shocked at Nangong Cheong's identity. To think that she could make the proud and unfathomable Yen Shi-san make such a concession. "Since you already condensed the sword heart, I believe you will not bury the snow feather sword. Its glory will be on you from now on." Yen Shi-san did not say anything more. He grasped the heavenly ice sword's hilt and looked coldly at the surrounding crowd, like he was asking if anyone was still unconvinced. After seeing Yen Shi-san's strength, who would dare to seek trouble? They all avoided his gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. Boom! Yen Shi-san drew the heavenly ice sword and soared into the sky. He sent out a massacring sword light and broke through the roof of the palace. Yen Shi-san's figure flickered, and he turned into a beam of black light, vanishing from this place. Just when everyone thought that there would be peace for a while, the stone platform with the heavenly ice sword in it exploded into dust. Clumps of dazzling light shot out as the stone platform crumbled. They were like majestic heavenly rocks spreading their wings and soaring into the sky. The light was dazzling, more than 100 of them. A vast emperor's might layered over each other and spread throughout the vast palace, making breathing difficult. An emperor painting piece. It really is a painting piece of the great rock spreading wings. There are so many painting pieces. We struck it rich. After a moment of silence, all the cultivators in the hall roared crazily, causing a commotion in the crowd. The impatient cultivators leaped into the air and reached out to grab the painting pieces. Bang! 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 Miserable cries rang out. Not only did people get injured by the energy contained in the painting pieces, but they were also injured by sneak attack. The entire place turned chaotic. Nangong Cheong said softly, "Along the way, we only found one painting piece. So, they were all hidden here." Xiao Chen frowned slightly as he looked at the chaotic scene. He did not know if Yen Shi-san expected such a thing to happen after he left. However, even if he did, given Yen Shi-san's character, he would not change his mind for these painting pieces. After retreating to the back with Bai's group, Xiao Chen handed the snow feather sword to Bai and said, "Brother Jiang, Miss Mu, Bai will be in your care." Jiang Zimo nodded and said, "Brother Xiao, don't worry. You should be careful as well." Bai knew what Xiao Chen meant. He wanted to protect her. She hated herself for not living up to his expectations. Brother Xiao Chen was worried about her. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. He turned around and left on his dragon, joining the group fighting for the map fragment. Xiao Chen's cultivation was still lingering around late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch. This painting piece was very important to him. This might be his opportunity to become a half-saint, so he had to fight for it. Looking around, the two most eye-catching people in the sky were undoubtedly the little heavenly monkey Feng and the silver moon spirit fox race's Xian Yu. Those who fought with them for the map pieces all ended up in a miserable state. In a short period of time, the two of them had already snatched 5 or 6 map fragments, sending quite a few ignorant people flying. Xiao Qin stood like a soaring dragon, looking at the dazzling map fragments dancing in the sky. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and firmly grabbed a map fragment that flew past him. A strong shockwave surged out, knocking away the nearby cultivators. Even the little heavenly monkey Feng needed at least 3 attempts before he could completely subdue a map fragment. Xiao Chen used his full power, using both his mental energy and quintessence at the same time to succeed on his first try. Boom! 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 Shock waves surged endlessly. Xiao Chen quickly made his move, succeeding 10 times out of 10. In a few breaths, he caught up to Xian Yu and the little heavenly monkey. After a while, Xiao Chen obtained 20 map fragments. The little heavenly monkey and Xian Yu combined did not even reach half of Xiao Chen's. Such a ferocious display finally attracted everyone's attention. They were dumbfounded as they watched Xiao Chen harvest the map fragments in an extremely tyrannical manner. This is too monstrous. Is he even going to let us live? Damn it. From the looks of it, he is going to snatch away at least half of the map fragments. The originally chaotic scene of a chaotic fight between experts now turned into Xiao Chen's solo performance. No one could stop him from harvesting the map fragment. The little heavenly monkey's pearl-like eyes revealed a strange chill. This fellow is too exaggerated. Hu Qi. Xian Yu, who had long found Xiao Chen an eyesore, snorted coldly. While Xiao Chen was not paying attention, he quickly flew towards him and stretched out his hand, trying to snatch a map fragment behind him. Xiao Chen smiled coldly. Without even turning around, he grabbed the painting piece with the backhand of his hand. At the same time, he made a grabbing motion with his right hand, and a surging shock wave burst out as he caught a painting piece that was flying over. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen grabbed 2 map fragments at the same time. Emperor's might spread out. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his white robes fluttered. His entire being radiated an unstoppable sharpness. Xian Yu, who originally thought that he would definitely succeed, ended up grabbing nothing. The expression on his face was extremely fascinating. Xiao Chen quickly put away the 2 map fragments into his universe ring. Then, his figure flashed and appeared in another direction, leaving behind Xian Yu, who was still in the same posture as before. Riding the dragon dance, Xiao Chen harvested non-stop. Anyone who blocked his way was sent flying. Xian Yu clenched his teeth and made up his mind to trick Xiao Chen this time. So, he chased after Xiao Chen, not letting go. However, Xiao Chen did not even bother to look at him. Every time Xiao Chen casually grabbed, Xiao Chen's actions would miss, preventing him from grabbing anything. 10 minutes later, not a single map fragment remained in the Great Hall. Xiao Chen had already swept through all of them. Naturally, the biggest winner was Xiao Chen. Of the 100 great rock spreading wings painting pieces, Xiao Chen had swept through 60 of them, more than everyone else combined. The Great Hall fell silent. Without exception, everyone's gazes focused on Xiao Chen. There was envy, jealousy, hatred, and even gazes filled with malicious intent. Murderous intent could be seen faintly discernible. However, after seeing Xiao Chen's earlier fight with Yan Shisan, no one dared to take the lead. Although the map fragments were precious, the value of one's life was even higher. Aside from Xiao Chen, Little Heavenly Monkey was the cultivator who had obtained the most map fragment. He gave Xiao Chen a deep look with his gem-like eyes before leaving without looking back. At this moment, Little Heavenly Monkey had to admit that even if he used his full strength, he might not be able to hold back Xiao Chen. He might even get killed by Xiao Chen and snatch away his map fragment. The cruel reality made him feel somewhat helpless. Originally, he did not care about this person at all. Who could have imagined that he would be his greatest nemesis on this trip? After little heavenly monkey left, sighs came from the crowd as they left unwillingly. Aside from Nangong Qiong, no one else knew about the core map fragment. Seeing that the map fragments were all distributed, the crowd could only leave this place regretfully. Congratulations, young Master Xiao. You obtained 60 map fragments. No one can stop you from showing off your might. Nangong Qiong said softly as she appeared out of nowhere. She revealed a faint smile on her pretty face. Xiao Chen had expected this girl to say this long ago. He smiled faintly and ignored her. He walked over to Bai and the other two and took out 30 map fragments, distributing them to the three. Xiao Chen had already suppressed the map fragments, so there was no need to continue suppressing them. The three put away the map fragments and thanked Xiao Chen with cupped fist salute. The map fragments formed from the comprehensions of a sovereign martial emperor were incredibly precious. The three were not unreasonable people. Furthermore, they were familiar with Xiao Chen's character, so they would not reject it. Xian Yu's face darkened as he walked over with his second uncle. His lips twitched a few times before he squeezed out a smile. I have always heard Bai mention you. Now that I see you today, you are indeed extraordinary. Xian Yu originally thought that Yan Shisan would kill Xiao Chen. Who could have imagined that not only did Yan Shisan not injure Xiao Chen, but he even gave face to Xiao Chen and gave the snow feather sword to Bai. After that, Xiao Chen displayed his skills and obtained 60 map fragments, completely overshadowing Xian Yu. Now, when Xian Yu saw the ambiguous expression in Bai's eyes, he could not hide it. Xian Yu wished that he could immediately kill Xiao Chen. However, he was not strong enough. Furthermore, he did not dare to fall out with Bai. The conflicted expression on Xian Yu's handsome face was obvious. Xiao Chen greeted indifferently. Then, he started chatting with Bai, lecturing her not to be rash in the future. Bai understands. The next time we meet, Bai will definitely not stand behind elder brother Xiao Chen. When Xiao Bai saw that familiar face and heard that familiar voice, she felt that her elder brother Xiao Chen was the same as before. Nothing had changed. She felt that it was enough. When Xian Yu, who was at the side, saw Bai's meek appearance, the flames in his eyes seemed to be about to spew out. If looks could kill, Xiao Chen would have died 10,000 times already. Unfortunately, looks could not kill. At the very least, Xian Yu's could not. After saying a few words to Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya, Xiao Chen bid them farewell. Nangong Qiong appeared at an appropriate time. She smiled and said, "Tsk, you are really generous. You casually gave me half of the map fragment. Young Master Xiao, I discovered that I can no longer see through you." Xiao Chen said casually, "How can I see through you? Cut the chatter. Bring me to the central hall of the Grave Palace. After I help you break the door, we will be even." When Nangong Qiong heard the words, Central Hall, she was no longer in the mood to joke around. She activated the many hidden mechanisms and led Xiao Chen in circles. Finally, they arrived before a heavy stone door. The stone door was pure black. Aside from being heavy, it looked very ordinary. Nangong Qiong's expression turned grave. She said sullenly, "This is the heavenly cloud stone. It can absorb a cultivator's quintessence. The central control hall of the Grave Palace is inside. Unless one is a descendant of the heavenly rock race, no one can open the door even if they find the mechanism. They can only break it by force." The heavenly cloud stone was one of the mysterious stones of the starry heavens. Xiao Chen had heard of it before. Human cultivator's quintessence, fiend race cultivator's fiend essence, and deity race cultivator's mental energy would not be able to cause any damage. Instead, they would become nourishment for it, making it even harder. Only the purest form of brute force, what was commonly known as force, could shatter it. According to the quality of the heavenly cloud stone, the amount of force it could withstand varied. Since the heavenly rock king had found this heavenly cloud stone, its quality would definitely not be low. This is a sage-grade heavenly cloud stone. It can withstand 1,000 tons of force without shattering. However, to young Master Xiao, this should be a piece of cake. Nangong Qiong glanced at Xiao Qin. She smiled faintly, looking fresh and refined. Her smooth, jade-like face did not appear to be fawning. Instead, she looked very charming. Under such flattery, a regular man would rush forward and smash the heavenly cloud stone with a punch. Chapter 764. As Xiao Chen looked at the stone door made of heavenly cloud rock, he remained unmoved. He said calmly, "You can give me the alchemic recipe for the breaking sage pill now, right? Strange. Is this lady's charm really not comparable to that little fox's?" Naturally, Nangong Qiong did not care about a breaking sage pill. However, when she saw Xiao Chen offend Yan Shishan for Bai's sake, she felt somewhat upset. She wanted to test Xiao Chen. Who knew he would be so uncooperative? However, this was just a girl's own thoughts. It was not about liking or disliking someone. Xiao Chen received the breaking sage pill, and his heart thumped heavily. However, his expression did not change, not letting Nangong Qiong see anything suspicious. When Xiao Chen arrived before the heavenly cloud rock door, he burned his vital qi. His bones gave off crackling sounds as he clenched his right fist tightly. When Xiao Chen felt the energy contained in his fist, he shouted and punched. Fist winds howled like thunder. The heavenly cloud rock shattered into countless fragments by Xiao Chen, scattering everywhere. A strange light flashed in Nangong Qiong's eyes. She casually waved her hand, and all the rocks flying at her were blown to the side. Chi! At the moment when the stone door was broken, an ear-piercing cry came from inside. The sharp cry contained a dense emperor's might that entered one's sea of consciousness. The strength of the emperor's might was not something the painting pieces outside could compare to. Caught off guard, Xiao Chen could not help taking a few steps back. He circulated his mental energy with all his might before he managed to block this emperor's might and recover. On the other hand, Nangong Qiong seemed to have expected this. When Xiao Chen retreated, she advanced instead of retreating, entering the central control room behind the stone door first. Ha! A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. I knew that this would be the result. Nangong Qiong's somewhat cold voice came from inside. Xiao Chen went forward to take a look and discovered a corpse lying at the foot of the wall in the control room, filled with all sorts of formations. The blood on the corpse's lips had yet to dry, and its eyes were wide open, filled with dissatisfaction. It was the young master of the Tianping race, Ming Yu. Above the stone room, a heavenly rock formed by the core painting piece spread its wings and circled around. A faint light spread out, and an emperor's might spread throughout the entire stone room. If Zhang Xian was not wrong, Ming Yu must have died from the backlash of eating the map fragment due to his lack of strength. Young Master Xiao, can you help me subdue this core map piece? Nangong Qiong smiled as she walked over to Xiao Chen. It seemed that he had never said that he would give her the core map fragment. The transaction between the two of them ended the moment Nangong Qiong handed over the breaking sage pill and Xiao Chen helped her open the Heavencloud stone door. Puchi! Just as Xiao Chen was about to reply, Nangong Qiong, who was in front of Xiao Chen, suddenly made a move. The heavenly sage laws contained in the sage-grade umbrella danced around wildly. Boundless spiritual energy infused into the umbrella, turning into surging quintessence that gave off a dazzling red light. Nangong Qiong attacked without any warning. There was no killing qi or quintessence fluctuation. She was fast, ruthless, and accurate, not holding back at all. She wanted to deal a fatal blow, severely injuring Xiao Chen. However, along the way, Xiao Chen had never let down his guard against her. As long as she got within 10 meters of him, his quintessence would automatically circulate throughout his body, ready to deal with her at any time. The instant Nangong Cheong made her move, Xiao Chen's body moved almost at the same time, quickly retreating to the back. When Xiao Chen's feet landed on the ground, they gave off extremely unpleasant screeching sounds. He left behind afterimages wherever he went. The umbrella was like a sword, piercing forward and shattering the afterimages. Nangong Cheong's expression turned cold as she chased relentlessly. Xiao Chen had reached the wall behind him, so he could not retreat for long. Indeed, Xiao Chen could not retreat. However, he had never thought of retreating from the very start. He only wanted to put some distance between himself and Nangong Cheong, luring her to continue chasing. The rebound from the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram at close range was not easy to endure. 2 beams of light flew out of Xiao Chen's eyes, one purple and one white. The lights chased each other, forming a primal chaos Taiji diagram. The 4 divisions of the sky and the 8 trigrams appeared around the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. The Yin-Yang flame diagram encompassed the entire world. Bang! The tip of the umbrella crashed into the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Suddenly, a golden light shone, and a vast energy surged out, crushing several of the decorations in the control room into powder. The spiritual heavenly rock above felt a dangerous aura. It spread its wings and flew through the stone door. An even more surging quintessence bounced back at Nangong Cheong from the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Nangong Cheong's pupils constricted, and blood leaked out of a corner of her lips. She went flying back with a pale complexion. Nangong Cheong pushed off the wall and opened the wooden umbrella. Her pale face looked at the slowly fading Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in shock. "Young Master Xiao, it looks like you are really unromantic. To think that you are willing to be so ruthless to a weak girl like me. You have truly broken this lady's heart." Nangong Cheong wiped off the blood on her lips and revealed a miserable smile on her pretty face. Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. If not for the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, even if he used the Sage-grade pagoda at full power, he would have been severely injured by that earlier strike, even with his strong physical body. If it were another person, that person would have been turned to ashes by that umbrella. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled. "Miss Nangong's attitude is really good. Despite all your schemes, you still ended up with nothing. Now, not only can you not obtain the core painting piece, but you are also injured. I really want to know why you can still smile." Nangong Cheong revealed an extremely charming smile. Together with her pale face, she looked like the most eye-catching plum blossom in a vast snowy land, extremely beautiful. "Young Master Xiao, don't you feel that there is something wrong with the position you are standing in?" Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. Then, he quickly sized up his surroundings. The stone room could not be considered narrow. Because he had dodged Nangong Cheong's attack earlier, he had retreated to the deepest part of the stone room. Nangong Cheong, who had been chasing after Xiao Chen, was knocked to the top of the stone door by the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Xiao Chen's expression changed, and he immediately figured out the problem. "Haha! It is already too late to figure it out now." Nangong Cheong laughed and put away the wooden umbrella. Then, her feet, which were stuck to the wall, moved slightly, and she flipped around, flying through the stone door. After Nangong Cheong landed, a jade strip appeared in her hand. Then, she quickly formed hand seals. Bang! Following closely behind, Xiao Chen arrived before the stone door like a strong gust of wind. A formless barrier appeared, and Xiao Chen crashed into it miserably, giving off a loud sound. Nangong Cheong put away the jade strip and looked at Xiao Chen, who was knocked back. Then, she rested the wooden umbrella on her shoulder and smiled gently. "Young Master Xiao, if we are fated, we should be able to meet again. Next time, I will do bad things with you. I'm going to subdue the core painting piece. Young Master Xiao, you should cultivate properly in there. Let's see if you can break this barrier that even inferior-grade martial sages cannot break in 100 years. Remember, this lady is called Ing Cheong, not Nangong Cheong." Her bell-like laughter was like a clear stream on a high mountain. Qiong opened the wooden umbrella and gently leaped up, disappearing from Xiao Chen's sight. Inside the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao looked at Xiao Chen, who was trapped in the stone room. She felt helpless. After a long time, she said, "Idiot master, I just knew that this woman would sell you out." "It is not about selling or not selling." Xiao Chen's face was still somewhat sore. That earlier collision was too fast. He touched the formless barrier and said indifferently, "Schemes are also skills. If my skills are not as good as hers, there is nothing more to say." Xiao Chen did not feel much hatred for Nangong Qiong's actions. From the very start, he knew that this girl was not someone to offend and was not a kind person. Xiao Chen had made preparations long ago. However, he had not expected that he would still fall into this girl's hands and let her snatch away the core painting piece. However, as long as his clothes remained unchanged, he would find this girl sooner or later and make up for this loss. Right now, the most crucial thing was to figure out how to get out. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand, and a grave expression appeared on his delicate face. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, tenfold combat prowess, deities descending. Suddenly, a bright golden light burst forth from Xiao Chen's body. A beam of divine light entered his body, causing his aura to soar continuously. He was like a deity walking in the mortal world, worshipping all things. Bang! A punch with tenfold combat prowess from deities descending struck the faint light barrier. There was a loud sound, and blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. Xiao Chen flew back in an even more miserable state. Some ripples appeared on the formless light barrier before it calmed down. Xiao Chen's qi and blood surged endlessly. The rebound nearly caused internal injuries to all of his internal organs. Xiao Chen finally experienced what it was like to face the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. "Young Master Xiao, just stay here and cultivate properly. Even an inferior-grade martial sage would not be able to break this barrier." When Xiao Chen recalled Qiong's voice, he could not help but feel somewhat dispirited. Even a punch with tenfold combat prowess did not budge. Could it be that I have to use the strength character formula? The strength character formula increased his combat prowess by 33 times. If I could not break this barrier, the rebound would probably kill me. When Xiao Chen thought of the consequences, he immediately gave up. Since ancient times, geniuses had all sorts of death. However, he had never heard of anyone killing themselves. He did not want to be the first. Xiao Chen recovered from his injuries and said, "It looks like I will have to stay here for a long time." Ao Jiao smiled gently and said, "You are really optimistic. Do you really think that you can break through to martial sage before you starve to death? There is always a way out. There will always be a way out. Furthermore, I do not have to cultivate to martial sage. After I am a half-sage, I should be able to execute deities descending." Xiao Chen tidied up and took out a prayer mat from his universe ring. Then, he took out a few superior-grade spirit-gathering pearls and entered a state of cultivation. The 1,000-year-old white nascent fruit that Xiao Chen consumed previously still had medicinal energy lingering in the depths of his bloodline. As long as he entered a state of cultivation, it would slowly take effect. The effects were not as intense as they were initially. However, it allowed Xiao Chen to achieve twice the results with half the effort. His cultivation improved rapidly. Right now, Xiao Chen was already a middle-stage, superior-grade martial monarch. When he used up all the remaining medicinal energy, he should be able to advance to late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch. At that time, when he cultivated to peak late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch and used the 30-odd painting pieces, he would definitely be able to break through to half-sage in one go. Chapter 765. Therefore, Xiao Chen was quite optimistic about his future. Half a month later, a group of uninvited guests suddenly appeared in the desert outside the Stargrave Palace. These people wore black robes and radiated baleful auras. Their cultivations were deep and strong. All of them were actually loose cultivators. Furthermore, none of them were weaker than Wu Yuankai. There were more than 30 of them. With such a strong force working together, aside from Enjuanshi, any of the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain would have to retreat. The person in the lead was Xian Yu of the Silver Moon Fox clan. At this moment, his face was dark and his handsome face was terrifying. There was no trace of his usual gentleness. Xiao! A figure flew down from the sky. It was Xian Yu's second uncle. After leaving the Star Tomb Palace, this person had been guarding outside and had not left. Xian Yu looked at the huge palace grave and said, "Second uncle, it's been half a month. Is that white-robed brat really not out yet?" "It's absolutely true. I've been guarding for half a month, but I haven't seen him at all. The woman who was with him has already come out, but he still hasn't come out." Xian Yu could not help feeling surprised. The Heavenly Rock Race's people had already emptied out all the treasures in the Star Grave Palace. They had also searched through all the painting pieces. The place was now completely empty. What was Shao Qin doing in there? Could it be that he wanted to take away this grave palace? This was the grave palace of a sovereign martial emperor. Unless Emperor Wu came, he would not be able to erase the Heavenly Rock King's mark. Forget it. He will come out sooner or later. I don't believe he can hide forever. Xian Yu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He wanted nothing more than to kill Shao Qin and tear him into pieces. After leaving the palace grave, Bai's attitude toward him became even colder. Before, he would say a few words to him out of politeness. Now, he didn't even say a word. Bai had magic skills and was valued by the Fox King. He had many pursuers, but Xian Yu always felt that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys moonlight first. In his heart, Bai would be his sooner or later. Who knew that after he met Shao Qin, he would suffer all kinds of setbacks, which made him feel that there was a serious gap in his arrogance. After leaving the Star Grave Palace, he could no longer suppress his desire to kill Shao Qin. After discussing it with his second uncle, he immediately received his second uncle's support. After spending a large sum of money to invite most of the half-sages in the vicinity of Hunluo province and informing Shao Qin that he had more than 60 emperor's painting pieces, the group of half-sages was extremely tempted. The middle-aged man glanced behind him at the overwhelming baleful aura, the red light of heavenly sage laws, and the many loose cultivators behind him. After some thought, Xian Yu said, "Xian Yu, even if these people work together to kill him, there will be no problem. However, if that person steels himself to flee, he might still have a chance of survival." The corners of Xian Yu's mouth curled up slightly as he sneered. "I've already notified my father. He agreed to send a senior elder over. At that time, if this person is unable to kill that brat, that senior elder will personally take action." Xian Yu's clan had some power in the Silver Moon Spirit Fox race. All the senior elders in the clan were at least inferior-grade martial sages. Before a martial sage, no matter how strong Shao Qin was, he would not be able to do anything. When the middle-aged man heard this, he was stunned at first. Then, he smiled and said, "It looks like the clan head is an understanding person. As long as you can truly obtain by and establish a connection with the Fox King, this bit of capital is definitely worth it." "Second uncle, should we charge indirectly? Waiting like this will be too passive." "Absolutely not. The Grave Palace is too big. After we enter, these people will immediately scatter. That will give that brat an opportunity to counterattack." Xian Yu nodded and said, "I never thought of that. In that case, let's just wait here and wait for him to come out. It would be best if the senior elder does not make a move. That way, even if something happens, we can push the blame onto a group of loose cultivators. That way, the Haotian sect will not come looking for trouble." Another half a month passed. Shao Qin slowly opened his eyes from his cultivation. After 1 month of bitter cultivation and exhausting all the spirit-gathering pearls on him, he finally advanced to peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch. He was only one step shy of advancing to half-sage. The most important thing was that Xiao Chen had completely calmed down. From the time he left the Haotian sect until now, he had not stopped for even a moment. First, he had fought with ferocious beasts in the savage beast forest. Then, he had pitted his wits against two old fellows. Finally, he had offended the magnificent Fiend Hall for some reason. After arriving at this Star-Grave Palace, Xiao Chen had been fighting non-stop. He had even run into a woman comparable to a spirit. One could say that he was constantly on high alert. Although he was trapped in this small stone room, outsiders could not enter. It could be considered an absolutely safe place. Xiao Chen could calm down and reflect on his experiences in the past 3 months. He did not need to think about anything else. Dragons were trapped in a dangerous land with no way out. However, if one looked at it from another perspective, a dangerous land might be a blessed land. 4 days later, Xiao Chen sorted out all the comprehensions and experiences he had gained in the past few months. While his cultivation did not increase, his pitch-black eyes appeared even deeper. His accumulations had become much more stable. With a flip of his hand, a painting piece of the great rock spreading wings appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. He muttered to himself, "It is time to absorb this painting piece and advance to half-sage." The great rock spreading wings painting was the comprehension that the heavenly rock king, a sovereign fiend emperor, materialized before his death. It contained the emperor's might and strong heavenly laws of a powerful expert. Although this was only a painting piece in Xiao Chen's hand and not the core painting piece, it was still worth cities, a treasure that could tempt even martial sages. Xiao Chen held the painting piece and sat down cross-legged. Then, he started to carefully comprehend the various mysteries contained in it. As Xiao Chen's consciousness slowly sank into it, he felt like he was in a vast and boundless scene. When Xiao Chen looked at it directly, the scene was hazy and ever-changing. He could not make out what it was at all. Was it a desert, was it a vast ocean, was it the sky, or was it a boundless starry sky? Xiao Chen could only feel the vastness, the boundless vastness. When he was in it, he felt like he was not even a drop in the ocean. He was so insignificant that he could not even describe it. Voices resounded in the primal chaos. Those voices seemed to be muttering to themselves, but they also seemed to be lecturing their relatives and juniors, as well as their comprehension and understanding of the martial Tao. The information was chaotic, turning into thousands of beams of light of different colors. They flew before Xiao Chen's eyes, weaving together. This made it hard for him to choose. Xiao Chen, focus your mind. Ignore the white beams of light. Those are the trifling matters of the heavenly rock king's life. Ignore the black beams of light as well. Those are the dark side of the heavenly rock king. You are not an evil cultivator. If you try to grab them, your mind will be in chaos. Don't touch the red beams of light either. That is the heavenly rock king's evil chi. Even if you try to grab them, you will not gain anything. The purple beams of light are the heavenly rock king's comprehensions of some martial techniques. You can grab them, but you cannot blindly grab them. There are very few blue beams of light, but you cannot miss them. That is the heavenly rock king's cultivation. After you obtain them, you can directly increase your cultivation. There are even fewer golden beams of light, but you cannot miss them. That is the heavenly rock king's heavenly laws. After you obtain them, you can directly comprehend heavenly sage laws. You only have 3 chances to make a move before the painting piece runs out of energy and disappears from the world. Just as Xiao Chen was at a loss, Ao Jiao's voice rang out in his mind, explaining the meaning of the various beams of light. The thousands of beams of light slowly became clearer. Xiao Chen's expression also calmed down as he started to observe carefully. Most of the beams of light were white, at least 90%. Next were black and red. There were very few beams of light that were truly useful. As for the golden beams of light, Xiao Chen could only see a blurry figure. He could not be sure if there were any. Whoosh! After observing for a long time, Xiao Chen finally made a move. He caught a purple beam of light in his hand. In that instant, he gained some knowledge of spear technique. He could not help but feel disappointed. Xiao Chen practiced saber techniques and fist technique. Spear techniques were only of some use to him. This was equivalent to wasting an opportunity. The second time Xiao Chen made a move, he wanted to catch a blue beam of light. In the end, he was too slow and caught a white beam of light. Some of the Heavenly Rock King's trivial matters appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. He had wasted another opportunity. There was only one opportunity. Xiao Chen focused all his attention. As he looked at the thousands of beams of light dancing around before him, he no longer dared to make a move casually. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Chen made a move at lightning speed. However, he caught nothing. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, and the painting piece in his hand turned into motes of light. Then, they rose into the air and slowly disappeared. A painting piece had been wasted just like that. Xiao Chen could not help feeling that it was a pity. He said, "There are too many chaotic beams of light. It looks like the Emperor's painting pieces are overrated." Ao Jiao smiled and said, "It is not that incredible in the first place. Didn't you see that Nangong girl? She did not even look at these painting pieces. The true essence is all in the core painting piece. Even with more than 100 painting pieces added together, they are not as valuable as one core painting piece." It looked like Xiao Chen had suffered a great loss this time. He had crushed his way here, sweeping through the place. After working so hard for so long, that girl took away the bulk of it. However, never mind. After all, he had 30 painting pieces. He had plenty of opportunities to familiarize himself with them. He was much better than those who only had 4 or 5 painting pieces or 1 painting piece. Following that, Xiao Chen continued absorbing the painting pieces. With his first experience, Xiao Chen was much more accustomed to the same situation the second time. After using up 10 painting pieces, Xiao Chen finally caught hold of 2 beams of blue light. Ka-cie. It seemed like a formless bottleneck in his body had been broken. With a huang-dang sound, the shackles broke. His body, which was a container, became 10 times larger than before. He could vaguely see a flickering door in his body, about to open. That was the door of sages. Once it opened, he would be able to transcend mortality and become a martial sage. After that, no matter where he went in the Kunlun realm, he would be an overlord. This door had blocked many demonic geniuses. To Xiao Chen, it was still too far away. There was no need to think too much about it. Just being able to see it was already pretty good. I finally advanced to half-sage. When Xiao Chen opened his eyes, he revealed an expression of joy. He had refined his quintessence twice in each of the 3 grades of martial monarch. His foundation was already incredibly firm. If not for this, he would have advanced to half-sage long ago. He would not have needed to wait so long. However, now that he had accumulated enough, the benefits he gained far surpassed that of ordinary people. The moment Xiao Chen advanced to half-sage, he saw that hazy door of sages. Since ancient times, not many geniuses had managed to do this. Chapter 766. More importantly, the amount of quintessence that Xiao Chen's body could contain had reached an inconceivable level. If Xiao Chen broke through to martial sage, the number of heavenly sage laws he could convert into would reach a startling number. Since ancient times, why were those demonic geniuses who condensed their quintessence twice able to become major characters in the future? This was the reason why those demonic geniuses who condensed their quintessence twice in the martial monarch realm were able to become major characters in the future. After breaking through to martial sage, one would immediately shake off those martial monarchs who liked to use their cultivation to suppress them. Xiao Chen, congratulations! After suffering so much, you finally advanced to half-sage, Xiao Chen said sincerely from the immortal spirit ring. Every time Xiao Chen consumed the quintessence gathering pill, Ao Jiao could still remember the heart-wrenching pain Ao Jiao felt every time Xiao Chen consumed the quintessence-gathering pill. Xiao Chen's cultivation fell far behind the geniuses of the same generation. He could only hide his pride and lofty aspirations in his heart, unable to express them. When the clouds parted to see the moon, when one could endure loneliness and all sorts of pain, one would be able to obtain what one wished for. Xiao Chen's face lit up with joy. However, he remained extremely calm as he said, "It is still not enough. I just advanced to half-sage, and have not comprehended my heavenly sage laws yet. I cannot waste any of the remaining 20 painting pieces." Time slowly went by. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. In the blink of an eye, another 20 days had passed. Xiao Chen suppressed the impatience in his heart. He slowly absorbed the remaining 20 painting pieces at the rate of 1 a day. Although this speed was slow, it was steady and steady. Furthermore, with his familiarity with the first 10 painting pieces, the effects of the remaining painting pieces were very obvious. Xiao Chen caught more than 30 beams of blue light, allowing his cultivation to soar. Such a cultivation was equivalent to a sovereign martial emperor personally imparting knowledge to him. There would be no side effects. As for why the other party could increase his cultivation despite being a fiend emperor, Xiao Chen pondered this question for a long time and came up with a guess that he did not dare to confirm. The martial Tao had many changes. However, when one reached the peak, they would all return to the same place. The essence of the energy was the same. There was not much difference. After catching 10-odd purple beams of light, Xiao Chen finally found a fist technique, Kuan Pung Fist. Most importantly, he had wasted more than a dozen chances to make a move. A golden beam of light containing sovereign demonic tharch and heavenly laws was firmly grasped in his hand. In the mysterious world within Xiao Chen's body, the tightly shut door of sages opened a crack. In that instant, Xiao Chen obtained 100 faint golden heavenly sage laws. These heavenly sage laws were as thick as a finger. They looked like ribbons of light circling his dantian. If a cultivator of the same cultivation realm were here, they would discover that the heavenly sage laws behind Xiao Chen undulated like waves flickering with a faint golden light. One golden beam of light directly transformed into hundreds of heavenly sage laws. If Wu Yuankai were still alive and saw this scene, he might vomit blood. Wu Yuankai had cultivated bitterly, killed others for their treasures, and used up countless resources. However, after advancing to half-sage for more than 10 years, he had only comprehended 10-odd heavenly sage laws. Furthermore, these were the thread-like heavenly sage laws. Now that Xiao Chen had obtained only the Heavenly Rock King's heavenly law, he now had 100 more heavenly sage laws. Furthermore, these heavenly sage laws were as thick as a pinky. They were at least 10 times stronger than Wu Yuankai's heavenly sage laws. However, they were rather dim in color. Furthermore, they were not the heavenly sage laws that Xiao Chen comprehended. Hence, he felt somewhat uncomfortable using them. If he completely absorbed them, the faint golden heavenly sage laws would turn into purple lightning-attributed heavenly laws. In that case, these 100 heavenly sage laws would become Xiao Chen's. No wonder those half-sages went crazy when they saw the painting pieces. They also knew that the painting pieces were somewhat overrated. However, if one was really lucky and managed to grab a golden beam of light, it would be equivalent to gaining 10-odd years of cultivation. However, this chance was too slim. Xiao Chen had 31 painting pieces. He had about 100 chances to make a move. Furthermore, with Ao Jiao's guidance, he had only managed to grab 1 golden beam of light. It was practically impossible for those half-sages with only 1 or 2 painting pieces to obtain a golden beam of light. After calming his slightly excited heart, Xiao Chen started to refine these heavenly sage laws. He infused his quintessence and mind brand into them. The purple thunder divine incantation slowly circulated, and the purple clouds around his dantian turned into a dense fog that slowly scattered. Then, they slowly seeped into the 100 faint golden heavenly sage laws. After all, the heavenly sage laws were transformed from the heavenly rock king's heavenly laws. They were not Shao Chen's. The process of seeping them in was extremely arduous and difficult. Time slowly went by. Shao Chen's heart was as calm as a mirror. He did not rush or get impatient. He only slowly sent his quintessence in, showing great patience. After half a day, Shao Chen finally managed to completely seep in one of the faint golden heavenly sage laws, turning it pure purple. Joy appeared on Shao Chen's face as he continued to work hard. With the experience from the first time, the second and third times went much smoother. In the end, he was able to take it easy. Half a month later, the 100 faint golden heavenly sage laws all turned purple. Their thickness had decreased by half, but they had become even more solid. Shao Chen opened his eyes, and a light flickered before him in a hazy world. Creak. In the distance, a saint door that stood in the void quietly opened a tiny crack that was almost negligible. Boom! In that instant, countless sounds entered Shao Chen's ears. Those were the breathing of the world, the sound of the great Tao. The sounds were like bells ringing rhythmically. The 100 heavenly sage laws in Shao Chen's body cheered along with the sound of the great Tao, moving up and down. Shao Chen's exhausted quintessence was completely replenished in a short while. A surging energy spread throughout his body. When he raised his hand, he could feel this energy surging like a raging river, incredibly ferocious and unparalleled. The light disappeared, and the world before him returned to reality. Shao Chen stared at the faint layer of dusk on the other side of the stone door, the barrier that had trapped him here for 2 months. A brilliant light flickered in Shao Chen's eyes. He did not hesitate to fly up and circulate the vast quintessence in his body. Then, he punched that invisible barrier. Bang! 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 Berserk electric light burst out of Shao Chen's fist. The 100 heavenly sage laws danced around wildly, and the heavenly sage laws behind him glowed even brighter. Rings of hazy purple light could be seen with the naked eye, moving up and down like surging waves. The formless light barrier began to tremble violently. Cracks began to spread, as if it would collapse at any moment. However, a short moment later, after a while, a mysterious energy poured into the barrier, and the cracks mended. Then, a huge force bounced back at Shao Chen. Shao Chen's expression changed. His internal organs suffered a flood-like attack. He quickly withdrew his hand and retreated. Then, he took 9 steps in the air. With every step Shao Chen took, he deflected some of the force, causing space to tremble. After 9 steps, he spun around quickly, deflecting the remaining force bit by bit. As the heavenly sage laws spun, a strong wind howled endlessly in the stone room. By the time Shao Chen landed, the rebound force had already completely dissipated. Aside from the initial shock, Shao Chen was not injured at all. This punch was just a casual test after he advanced to half-sage and grasped heavenly sage laws. Shao Chen did not expect to break out of the door in one go. Withdrawing his fist, Shao Chen looked at the invisible barrier and entered deep thought. It looked like he needed to shatter this barrier with one punch. Otherwise, if he gave it time to catch its breath, even if it was just for a moment, it would be useless. However, now that I have a full power punch, I can achieve the might of deities descending in the past, perhaps even surpassing it. When I familiarize myself with the strength of my body and execute deities descending, I have a 70% chance of breaking this barrier with my 10-fold combat prowess. Withdrawing his gaze, Shao Chen glanced at the corpse of the heavenly rock race's young race head, Mingyu. The stone room was sealed, and it was in the depths of the grave palace. Hence, Mingyu's corpse had not rotted yet. It still looked the same as before, its eyes wide open as it stared in a certain direction. Shao Chen thought back to when he first met this person. He kept feeling that something was wrong. At that time, Mingyu stood on the altar, facing the many outstanding talents hiding in the surroundings. His expression had not changed. He had been very confident, not showing any fear. This person was definitely not as weak as Nangong Cheong made him out to be. He should have been confident of subduing the core painting piece. However, the reality was that the moment Xiao Chun and Nangong Cheong entered, they saw this person's corpse. What exactly is wrong? Xiao Chun thought for a while but could not come up with an answer. Just as he was about to give up on this question, Xiao Chun suddenly thought of something. Then, he walked over to Ming Yu's corpse and looked in the direction of Ming Yu's extremely dissatisfied gaze. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's expression changed. At the end of Ming Yu's vision was an unremarkable corner of a wall. There was a square piece of paper pasted there. The color of the paper was almost exactly the same as the color of the surrounding wall. If not for Ming Yu's angle, one would not have noticed the square piece of paper pasted on the wall. Standing up, Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and drove out a vast quintessence from his heavenly sage laws. Then, he casually sent out a strand of saber qi. The purple saber qi looked very solid, containing Xiao Chen's great perfection saber intent. Although it was just a casual strike, given Xiao Chen's current cultivation, regular half-sages would not dare to underestimate it. Qi! A piercing bird cry resounded, and a vast and imposing emperor's might spread out, pressing towards Xiao Chen like a heavy mountain. Earlier, it was just an ordinary piece of white paper. Now, it gave off a bright light and turned into a scarlet heavenly rock with a ferocious look in its eyes. This heavenly rock was very different from the heavenly rock formed by the painting pieces earlier. One had an overwhelming spirituality, while the other exuded a baleful aura. It gave the impression of a man-eating ferocious beast. Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, showed a startled expression. She said, "Xiao Chen, be careful. This is an evil spirit formed by the heavenly rock king's baleful aura. After tens of thousands of years, it unexpectedly gained intelligence. Everyone had a dark side. Naturally, the heavenly rock king was no exception. The great rock spreading wings painting was formed by his body before he died. It definitely contained his baleful aura, killing qi and all sorts of dark sides. When the painting was complete, it was not a big problem, as there was a bright side to neutralize it." Chapter 767. However, once the picture scroll shattered, the dark sides gathered together. After a long time, it would be hard to avoid strange changes. Ka-Cie. The scarlet heavenly rock flapped its wings. The strand of purple saber qi that Xiao Chen sent out shattered it into pieces. They turned into flashes of lightning that crackled and flickered. Xiao Chen's pupils constricted slightly. Aside from a grave expression, there was something else in the depths of his eyes. Ao Jiao, if I did not guess wrong, it should be a core painting piece as well. The core painting piece that Ing Qiong subdued should be the heavenly rock king's light side. There should not be one core painting piece but two. Xiao Chen's guess was right. The core painting piece was indeed split into two. One contained the heavenly rock king's good side and the light side. The other was occupied by the heavenly rock king's evil side and the dark side. Both had gained some intelligence. However, in terms of craftiness and viciousness, the light side was far inferior to the dark side. This dark core painting piece had killed Mingyu. At the crucial moment when he was subduing the light part, the dark core painting piece sneak attacked him and killed him. Hence, Mingyu felt extremely dissatisfied when he died. He had great ambitions and was about to succeed. In the end, he died at the hands of a core painting piece, an unparalleled genius falling just like that. Furthermore, this core painting piece was extremely crafty. When it felt threatened, it even knew how to disguise itself to deceive others. If not for that final flash of inspiration, Xiao Chen might not have discovered it. If this evil spirit had another few hundred years, it might have gained another powerful ferocious spirit. However, now, Xiao Chen had advanced to half-sage and refined 100 heavenly sage laws. This dark core painting piece could not do anything to him. The scarlet heavenly rock flapped its wings, and rings of red light came from its body. It looked ferociously at Xiao Chen as it cried out and charged over. Its scarlet claws flickered with a cold light as it tried to tear Xiao Chen to shreds. The space was narrow, so Xiao Chen did not dodge. He did not intend to engage in a tug-of-war with this dark core painting piece. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, tenfold combat prowess, deities descending. Bang! At this moment, Xiao Chen's tenfold combat prowess was incomparable to before. When he punched, the heavenly sage laws behind him formed ribbons of light. Light burst forth like a halo, visible to the naked eye. As his long hair fluttered in the wind, Xiao Chen was like a god walking in the world. A loud sound came from the void. The air was blasted apart by this punch. The entire stone chamber shook violently as if it was going to collapse at any time. The fist wind carried a shockwave as it surged forward. The descending scarlet heavenly rock cried out miserably and flew back. The red light on its body dimmed significantly, and its body turned illusory. The scarlet sky rock hid in a corner, trembling as it looked at Xiao Chen. One punch, and the ferocious black painting piece completely lost its temper. Deities descending was very mighty. Unfortunately, the amount of mental energy and quintessence it exhausted was startling as well. Xiao Chen could not use it without any worries. Otherwise, with another 2 punches, this evil spirit would be completely destroyed. Xiao Chen roared and shot up, launching a barrage of attacks at the Scarlet Heavenly Rock. The Scarlet Heavenly Rock, which had been weakened by deities descending, could not retaliate at all before Xiao Chen's unstoppable aura. It cried out miserably without end. Those who heard it panicked. However, they could not save the Heavenly Rock from death. After the final strike, the Scarlet Heavenly Rock cried out miserably and turned into clumps of scarlet light, vanishing from the stone chamber. A painting piece covered in black light slowly floated down from the sky. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand to catch it. Ci La. A hole appeared in the protective quintessence around his hand, and he instantly felt pain in his palm. Xiao Chen reflexively tossed out the black painting piece. What's going on? Looking at the wound on his palm, Xiao Chen felt confused. The evil spirit was already dead, but this black light could still break through his protective quintessence. Ao Jiao said, "You are inexperienced. This is filled with the Heavenly Rock King's evil aura and dark side. Unless you are an evil cultivator, how can you touch this thing?" Although the core painting piece split into 2 and more than 10,000 years have passed, it is no longer as mighty as it was in the beginning. However, it is still the evil aura of a sovereign martial emperor. You cannot absorb it with your current cultivation. As Xiao Chen looked at the dark core painting piece floating in the air, he could not help feeling depressed. Such a great temptation was placed before him, yet he could not swallow it. Is there any other way? I can think about it, Xiao Chen asked, feeling dissatisfied. Ao Jiao supported her chin with her right hand and smiled. Naturally, there is a way. When we go to the place where the Thunder King comprehended his will, we can draw out the immortal divine lightning and purify the evil aura and dark aura. Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Originally, he had intended to rush to the place where the Thunder King comprehended his will after he left. It would not be a big deal for him to absorb the light from the core painting piece after some time. Without touching the dark painting piece, Xiao Chen directly placed it in his universe ring. Then, he did not say anything more and started to familiarize himself with his current strength. During the 2 months in the Grave Palace, Xiao Chen's strength had accumulated greatly, reaching unprecedented height. This improvement was inevitable and not a coincidence. Even without this painting piece, it would have been the same. The painting piece was just an igniter. It completely ignited the energy that Xiao Chen had accumulated as a martial monarch. Then, it exploded, achieving a qualitative leap. Xiao Chen's strength had suddenly increased by too much. He needed to calm down and carefully explore this energy, familiarizing himself with it as quickly as possible. 3 days later, Xiao Chen gained a rough understanding of his current combat prowess. If he met the Bai Wuxue of half a year ago, even without comprehending the will of thunder, he would be able to defeat him easily. Of the 7 giants, only Juanxi could hold his own against him. If First Senior Sister did not distance herself, she would not be able to defeat him in close combat. However, while Xiao Chen was improving, the others were improving as well. As for the specifics, it was hard to say. I have to comprehend the will of thunder. What I want is not just to defeat Bai Wuxue and Juanxi, the aloof son of the 3 holy masters, and the various geniuses of the other races of the Kunlun realm's 5 domains are all my opponents. A determined expression appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. Then, he looked at the formless barrier in front of the stone door that he could not break. His expression turned grave. Xiao Chen walked to the stone door step by step. Then, he looked at the faint light barrier and took a deep breath. Although Xiao Chen was fully confident of breaking this formless barrier, there were exceptions to everything. Once he failed, deities descending's tenfold combat prowess would land on him. With Xiao Chen's current strength, even if he did not die from such an attack, he would be severely injured. Indecisiveness was not Xiao Chen's character. A cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he executed deities descending and punched the formless barrier. Bang! 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 Non-stop explosions resounded. The formless barrier was like a mirror. Then, it shattered into pieces and scattered in all directions with a gust of wind. The situation was simpler than Xiao Chen imagined. He did not continue to struggle or wait anxiously. With his tenfold combat prowess, he broke this formless barrier with one punch. Xiao Chen withdrew his fist and revealed a relaxed expression. Ing Qiong laughed at him for not being able to come out for 100 years. However, he managed to do so in less than 2 months. Xiao Chen said that even an inferior-grade martial sage would not be able to break this formless barrier. However, with his tenfold combat prowess, he managed to break it with one punch. In terms of explosive power, Xiao Chen had accumulated 100 heavenly sage laws. With his tenfold combat prowess, a regular inferior-grade martial sage would not be able to compare to him. In terms of sustained explosive power, Xiao Chen could not compare to a martial sage. After all, he could not use his tenfold combat prowess like drinking water without any worries. Xiao Chen raised his foot and walked out of the stone room that he had been trapped in for 2 months. Fresh air immediately assaulted his face. Breaking this barrier with one punch gave Xiao Chen boundless confidence. He asked somewhat anxiously, "Ao Jiao, how far is the place where the Thunder King comprehended his will from here?" "It is not far. With your current speed, if you travel at full speed, you will reach it in 10 days. That is a fiend race forbidden land called Misleading Fog Lake." Misleading Fog Lake. Xiao Chen repeated this name twice. Just from the name, he could guess what kind of place it was. Misleading Fog Lake is shrouded in thick fog. Mental energy and other senses would not exceed 500 meters in there. Even a martial sage would be trapped in there. Ao Jiao continued, "However, you have my guidance. There is no need to worry about getting lost." Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Since Ao Jiao said that, there was no need to worry. When the time came, he just had to focus on comprehending the will of thunder. Once he comprehended the will of thunder, he would become an unrivaled existence among half-sages. As they spoke, Xiao Chen arrived at the exit of the Grave Palace. Just as he was about to step out, he frowned slightly and stopped. "Young Master Xian, how much longer do we have to wait? Although we are not major characters, we should not waste our time like this." Outside the vast Grave Palace, the leader of the 30 half-sage loose cultivators on the yellow sand asked sinisterly with a sullen expression. Originally, they had said that they would wait for half a month at most. Not only would they obtain 100,000 astral coins, but they would also obtain 2 painting pieces. However, they ended up waiting for 1.5 months. No matter how tempting they were, they would grow impatient. They suggested charging in several times, but Xian Yu stopped them. As time went by, this group of people became more and more agitated. Every 2 or 3 days, they would come looking for Xian Yu to pester him. Xian Yu's expression turned sullen. He had not expected Xiao Chun to be in there for 2 months without coming out. What does 2 months count for? If you can obtain 1 painting piece, with some luck, you can save 10 years of bitter cultivation. The black-clad man smiled insincerely. If you have a painting piece, naturally, everything will be fine. However, if you do not, what do you mean? I am the scion of the Silver Moon Spirit Fox race's Xian clan. Why would I lie to an insignificant person like you? If you don't want to wait, my Xian clan's martial sage will be coming soon. At that time, if you continue speaking nonsense with me, I will give you all the benefit. Xian Yu was in a bad mood in the first place. When he saw the black-clad man's attitude, he immediately flared up. The black-clad man did not want to blow the matter up. Furthermore, the Xian clan did have some power, and was not someone he could afford to offend. After muttering a few words, he left. Humph! You keep coming to me to say this and that. Aren't you just trying to increase the rewards? None of these loose cultivators are good people.